Hello everyone. Can you hear me? Sound check. Sound check. Mic off, we hear you. All right, you hear me. Great. Thank you. How are you all? Was a little while ago since we were streaming last time. We've been working very hard and we have some quite exciting news and updates moving forward. We're gonna share with you guys. We're trying to refine our work in sprint sessions Q&A to make sure we deliver solid and stable patches. I'm getting a lot of feedback and data on performance. Performance is a big thing for a lot of our players, obviously. We have been working on a few adjustments in our upcoming 2 patches that I'm gonna update you on a little bit. Things that make sense, and also some of the things that you actually pointed out and asked us in the last stream. So we're gonna go through that. So yeah, we've been collecting data from you guys. We're also using some of the in-game pulse functions. Devil's Reflex, thank you very much for 36 months. MO2 is the best game on the market. There is no reason it shouldn't be huge. Can't wait to hear what makes this game grow to the size it should be. Thank you very much, appreciate it. And thank you everyone that did subscriptions before I tune in. Comment Man, thank you for the 80 month, both development funds. Appreciate it. Gabwarp Wombat, thank you for the 29 month. 29 months of my life and my hard-earned money, and more than 2 years I'm paying 2 accounts for this game and still love it. And now I wish for some argument love. By the way, keep up the great work. Love. Thank you very much. Again, we really appreciate you guys being here, giving your feedback. It means a lot. So yeah, so let's see. So we are going through data. You know, we dropped different areas that cost more in the new tech Unreal 5 compared to Unreal 4. We are fully aware of those areas. Alufarat, thank you for the 4 month. Been playing for a long time. Hope to hear some good news this stream, maybe some balance changes. Thank you, I appreciate it. So we are fully aware of, obviously, that we wanna push the client performance as much as possible. There are 2 separate things that have been a little bit of a confusion in the community, but you know, we understand why. It's the network side of performance, and then we have the client performance. They're 2 very separate things. And when a player experiences different types of issues in the game, it's either one of those 2 or a combination. And we did have some major network problems for a while when we did a engine swap and changed hardware. But as most of you are aware, that have been fixed since a little bit ago. So that means the network things of all actions and network data works very stable and better than ever, which means performance is solid and we can handle a better population of influx. And obviously what's most stressful is huge sieges, as you may know, and those have been also, you guys have done some large battles lately, the latest months, and we have been covering those closely and seeing that our change we did to the server was indeed proper fixes. That, you know, like Sebastian boldly stated, it is fixed rather than hopefully it is. He saw main reasons why that happened. So yeah, the other topic is FPS, right? And that is a client performance. So it's always good to remind everyone the differences so we can talk apples and apples and not compare orange to apples. Yes, client performance is the next thing, right? We still struggle with client performance, which means huge battles, a lot of players around you, and in certain areas of the world, you may tank the FPS, have a low backend core cost of the FPS, and then throw in a couple of mobs and players around that, and you get very poor performance in FPS, which means it feels sluggish and it's, you know, poor performance. Obviously fighting things just doesn't feel good, right? You know, we know that having a decent FPS is quite vital to, you know, be able to survive on a battlefield. Sluggish indeed. But I have some great news. So we've done some very important changes, and I will go through them a little bit for those that are interested. But I'm gonna actually show you, I'm gonna jump over to the next slide here, or slide, I mean update up the points. So we have done some updates on the roadmap that makes sense. You guys also pointed out that, you know, we've been working on the adrenaline system. It ties to fatality and combat abilities, which is a huge feature that a lot of you guys have wanted, very high up on the request list for the game. It's a high popular thing for pretty much all players, right? And some of you guys pointed out, what's the purpose of having the adrenaline system if we can't really utilize the score of it? And we were considering to have a few core base abilities along with that system. But the more we went through it and deeper we go into this, we think you're right. It makes fully more sense if it goes along with the combat system. So we have actually made some adjustments. So I'm gonna show you the updated roadmap, and we turn off ads. Am I running ads, guys? I didn't thought that was enabled. Is there any way for me to disable ads? That's not intended. Does anyone know how to do it? I haven't really, you know, I don't know how. Henrik, thank you for the 9 month. You can't. I can't disable ads, so they are forced. That sucks, but okay, I see. Well, yeah, hopefully you will be able to rewatch if there's something you're missing, or, you know, shout out if we're missing anything important. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna show you guys some of the updates we want to do on the roadmap. If I can. No, what the hell? That was an old. Wait. Where is? 1 second, guys. It's quite a while ago I updated these things on my OBS thing. No, I have too much old stuff. I need to clear this up. Wait, let me find what I'm looking for. My list is bloated. 1 second. Let me add it. Image. Okay, so here we go. Let me remove the backgrounds. It's clearer. All right. So what we have done is we are moving over to Unreal Engine 5.5 because there's actually something that we're utilizing that is helping with multi-threading, utilizing more threads simultaneously on the CPUs, which means less CPU bound, which means we have been heavily CPU bound pretty much since day one. So the more we can optimize on the CPU, the better and more efficiently the GPU can work. So we're moving over to 5.5 that have a few cool things when it comes to the development, rolled things, which is really awesome. But also we can utilize a few things that our character system is built on, which means large-scale battles, right? That's one of the client performance that we've been talking about quite a while. I have a few numbers so far that I want to share with you guys to show what kind of performance optimization we got so far on a few different hardware specs from older to newer generation. Obviously, everything scales better on new hardware. Unreal Engine 5 utilizes new tech quite a lot. So Sprint 10 is fully focused on performance, client performance, and we're moving over to the new engine 5.5. And we also have the new chat system. Our current chat system is quite old, out of date, and quirky, right? So we we're getting that update to be more modern working finally as well. We're not talking about any fake frames. I'm not talking about frame generation or DLSS. I'm talking about raw FPS performance without anything enabled. And then of course, depending on the hardware, if you have new hardware, frame generation such scales very good. But if you have older generation, then yeah, you will notice input lag and such. 300 player population. You know, if you don't like the game and think it's, you know, don't have enough players, and you're wildly guessing 300 players, which, you know, the game wouldn't have run if we have 300 players. So that's just ridiculous. You don't have to be here. You're not forced to be here and throw your cool Doom words around. We're not interested in that in here. Here, we spend some time as devs to communicate with the community. And if you really hate the game, there are other games for you. You can leave this chat and just do whatever you want. That's the freedom of this world, right? So, you know, we have the numbers and we are very happy with the numbers. We've been growing, everything is moving in the right direction. And if that's not to your liking, then, you know, tough luck. What more can we do other than deliver solid patches? So, as you can see here, after sprint 10, that's when we get to the juice. That is looking to be a huge expansion. It's our biggest expansion since release of the game, and we call it Reckoning, as you can see here on the updated roadmap. And it holds a lot of big things that some of you guys have been voting on, or majority of you guys have been voting on one thing specifically, which is combat. The combat abilities, which will add more depth to the combat, both for PvE and PvP. There's a lot of things that goes into this patch. You know, we have the adrenaline system, we have the fatality system, we have the combat abilities, we have an overhaul work on the TC that we've been talking about, dividing the world into regions, and you fight for regions, and those regions have different bonuses. That's an extremely short version of it. So more interesting, engaging sieges for these areas and whole control of lands and bonuses rather than full out, you know, sieging a keep. You know, that isn't as fun. So I just commented on that before the cooler name, right? You know, enough with the doomers, and you talk about the population that we are not even close to. We're not. It's enough with that. Staff, you know, mods members, feel free to remove that. We don't want to talk about that crap because it's bullshit numbers. You're talking out of your ass, frankly. Those are not connected to reality. And this is not the place. Again, we spend the time here with the community that want to know more about the game and are here for the game. If you're here to bullshit, you can go elsewhere. There are plenty of forums where you can bullshit about this game and other games. Okay, that's my final take on it. So mods, Robmo, anyone, feel free to clean up when that continues, if it continues. All right, thank you, and sorry about that, guys. So what we're also going to do is we're going to have a lineup where we share the development a little bit more open. We're going to have regular updates on a weekly basis to show you more in depth. Next, we're looking at, we're going to reveal the invasion system. We haven't really said any specific regarding that, but we're going to obviously reveal what it is and how it works in general. And we're going to showcase some of that. And of course, we're going to have a stream dedicated for the adrenaline system, how it works, and go into some of the abilities, because that's also something we want feedback on. We're going to run PTR quite early on combat abilities and the balance of the adrenaline system because of the obvious reasons. Very sensitive, and is something that can really lift Mortal Online, the combat experience from PvE to PvP to whole new levels. And add more depth and player skills, which is the key. G-Man, thank you very much for the months. We're going to remove siege windows. So all details are not fully fleshed out when it comes to how we may want to modify what we have for the keeps regarding the focus on yeah, raw mods. Feel free to clean up the bullshit going on again. I mean, we talked about it 1,000 times. When you see players online, that's not the same thing as active and subscription players. And we said it 1,000 times, you know, enough is enough. So yeah, feel free to clean it up. It's just ridiculous. It's like not even listening on any facts. Okay, where were I? Yeah, we wanna get feedback on the adrenaline and those combat systems, because again, balance is super sensitive, right? We want to make sure that player skills is key, and you know, we want to make sure that what we have is solid before we go live with it. So we're not splitting the player base with a North American server. So believe it or not, we have a huge demand from American players, especially West Coast, that some of them have tried Mortal, many of them have not even tried it because they hear there's only a European server, therefore I'm not going to play. So imagine a couple of thousand players that are looking forward to the game, they do want to play it, but they refuse because we don't have a North American server. That obviously means if you're marketing and release a server in North America, that means those couple of thousands of new players will join the game. So that doesn't mean we are splitting any player. Obviously, the players we have, we're still going to have, right? We expect many to want to experience and explore the new content, just like any new lands, like we did in Mortal Online 1. When we released Sarka, for instance, we got a huge influx of new players, and many players, old players, came back to try out the new content. Just like any game, any expansion. World of Warcraft do the same thing, right? When there's expansion, you may want to explore the new lands. So we're obviously expecting a huge growth along with the North American server, where we can actually get all players from North America rather than just, partially a few of them East Coast. So obviously we're excited to tap into the North American market a lot more, and direct marketing for American players as well. The American player base have been slowly growing. Our Europe player base have been a solid, obviously, and the Asian market have been much smaller, obviously, than what we have today. But we're looking into with some possible partners as well to tap into both America, but also the Asian markets. We're talking to a few companies. They say that there's a huge demand for especially hardcore MMOs, and obviously this is it, right? One of them. So there are some interesting approaches there as well to see how we can further expand the world with players. So yeah, just sharing some of that when it comes to the new lands. And of course, we got a lot of old vets that are just tired of old content and they want new content to explore, because that's part of this game, right? When it comes to location of the servers, we have not fully decided yet. As I mentioned before, we're doing some tests to see how it affects the European players to America, and obviously all within the American players, and then nearby regions as well, depending on where it is. So yeah, that's about that. I have a few numbers that I actually got from Aaron. Thank you for the donation. I missed that. What did you say? Let's see. Did I miss that donation? Yeah, was one of those that are misconfused with players online and I don't know what. I know it's hard to understand the numbers, how it works with active players, Steam chart that misses a big fraction of them. That is also why I've said, Sebastian, soon you actually have to take some time, some development time, and put the numbers on a web page so people see a little bit what's going on in the game rather than having a guessing game. So hopefully we'll have some spare time to update the webpage for that kind of server data as well. There's a lot of interesting data that we can share on the website. Now when we have the new backend system, we can also pull interesting data from in-game in live and put it on our websites. Yeah, Evenline have a population on the login. I've seen that as well when I played it. That's one way of doing it. But yeah, we can link that to the web page so anyone can see it at any time as well. Broke on the website. I mean, all of those things are possible now with the new backend. We can dump almost any data in real time. But yeah, we need to spend some time of what makes sense and what we want to start out with. So the Steam chart numbers doesn't show all players, as many players have explained for you guys before, and we have said also many times. And it also takes an average once an hour. If it misses a tick, the average crashes. So it shows trends pretty good, but it's not very close to the real numbers we have online. Also, it doesn't take epic players, obviously, as you know. And the concurrent players online and active players playing on a week is also very different from what you see online right this very minute. Many people think that the number you see in Steam chart is the total number we have playing the game, which would mean if they spread out, because you can't play 24/7, right? That would be like 7 players simultaneously concurrent. Obviously, we don't have that, right? So it takes some little thoughts to you know, reach some proper numbers, but some guys have been explaining this as well on the forums and are quite accurate on their rough estimates. But since it's such a confusion topic, it makes sense to put it on the website, so we can stop guessing, right? East Coast will get 100 ping to West Coast servers, lol. Sprint 10 can get a little love. Some new heavy armor, something cool. So Sprint 10 isn't packed with content, as you can see. It's packed with some huge important updates. The engine is updated and a lot of optimization. We have done a huge step on character optimization to better support larger battles and players around you, but we've also done world optimization. We are quite far in this. We have a few more steps we want to do and refine, but I can share some numbers if you're interested in world performance and character, 200 plus character on the screen. What kind of optimization we've done so far on our different hardware. Why not add online player on login? Even better, we can add it on the website. Of course, we can add it on login as well. It can be on both places. But there are a few things that we hope we can also bring in Sprint 10 when it comes to some balanced things that we've been discussing also quite a bit. We have some resistance magic updates. We have the tower shield with magic updates. Some of those things. Some tweaks on some animals, pets. So there should be some solid tweaks as well that aligns with the majority of the view. So there's a few things, but we haven't obviously added those there, and some of them are in the gray zone. Will we make it in time or not? Because we wanna deliver a noticeable performance upgrade on the clients for every single player, even though you are running on a brick gold computer to next gen computers. So absolutely noticeable FPS update should be happening in this next patch. Because Reckoning is gonna obviously pull a lot of action, mobs and players to same locations and more sieges, which means the better FPS, the better you will enjoy the game as well. Yes, a few bug fixes as well that you guys reported that are quite annoying. Some of them can be abused in different ways. Those are also on our prior list for Sprint 10, obviously. So we're not looking just to nerf mages, because we know there's a passionate mage style players out there as well. What we're trying to do is some proper adjustment on the tower shields, which we know, we didn't plan that the meta is put on your tower shield and stand in the corner with your back towards the enemies. It's a little bit silly. But we also are looking at the new spell, kind of like reactive armor, which will be a nice introduction at the same time when the tower shield is not the optimal option for anyone with low strength. But there will be a counter option in a new way that makes sense for mages. So yeah, we're looking at, there will be a weight strength requirement bound to each shield type when you craft it. and the tower shield will be quite heavy, so you can't run around with 10 strength mage and use those tower shields. I mean, you can still try to use those smaller, lightweight, rounder shields. But like I said, we are looking to implement some kind of reactive armor spell at the same time. So there is a proper mage option to look into. You want to see some of the performance gains we have managed to do so far, just to show some of the progression. We know that we're talking about a lot of performance patches in the past. We have done a lot of performance optimizations, but in raw data, FPS, when you're playing a game, that's what's matter, right? So even though we've optimized areas that can stack up and be in the background, cause a few FPS, but also stutters and freezes, those have been worse. We have managed to remove most of that. Now we want raw FPS gains that anyone can notice and see, right? We managed to reduce the input lag a little bit. And let me just share you some numbers that I managed to take from the team on the latest build. Everything is not done yet, but we are in a pretty good state. Let me find, where the hell do I have? Okay, let me remove that little picture. Where the hell is it? Okay. Here, let's see where the hell we have it. Can you see these numbers, guys? So if we look at the first example here, it's a pretty old generation CPU. i7 8700 CPU, a 3060 card, so a decent card. Do you need to be larger, guys? You see it now? So here you can see some world optimization from Toxai, Tindra, Fabanum, Tasty Village, Necro Dungeon, Steps. Overall, we're looking at around 17 to 55% increased in raw FPS, just moving around in the world and visiting dungeons and cities, which is a pretty good general base cost improvement. And it's on a quite old CPU, as you know. The GPU is quite new, 3060, but that's not the bottleneck here. The bottleneck is the CPU. And we have 200 characters on the screen. On live, on this build, it cost, you're running around with around 29 FPS. It's not very solid. But on the latest build we have right now in-house, he gained 17%, so about 34 FPS. So absolutely noticeable improvement on a lot of players and in the world. Then if we look at Ryzen 5, 3600, the graphic card in this case, RX 7600, you know, also older generation. In this case, we're looking at Meduli specifically on this hardware. On live, that is running around 30 to 50 FPS, depending on direction and where in Meduli. And on the latest build, the same machine gets 57 to 100 FPS, so almost twice the performance in that case. So it varies quite a lot depending on where you are and how it scales in the hardware. But this is pretty solid performance boosts on a little bit older hardware. And on that machine, same machine, 200 characters on the screen, from live 16 FPS to 21 FPS. So that's about 30% increase. Obviously starting on 16 FPS on all the hardware is not very good, and of course being in the low 20 is not solid either, but 30% increase is pretty good. And then we're looking at a little bit new hardware, i9 14900K on a 3090 RTX card. So pretty top of the line, right? 250 characters from 48 FPS to 83 FPS. Average 70% performance gain. This is without DLSS or any tech running. So yeah, we're getting some nice boosts on the performance here. And then we have a 10,900K, also a little bit older generation, a 2070 card. 200 characters went from 22 to 30 FPS. So that's about 30% FPS gain. So overall, pretty good increase. We have really cranked a lot of stuff out of the characters. There's still a few things we can do, but we found this to be the first big thing that actually makes a noticeable difference for everyone, from old hardware to new hardware. What about AMD cards? We only have this Ryzen here with our AMD as an example, as you can see here. So I just took a few from quite old to top of the line, just to give you an idea. Navy, we had a battle this weekend with 300 players. So obviously anyone that was there struggled with the FPS. And on this new build, you will obviously get a boost in that case. So yeah. Why is old CPU so bad? There's quite a lot of difference. Every generation forward is a small leap. Even though the actual frequency speed doesn't go up, a lot of things happens on raw performance and how you can utilize cores and CPUs in specifically Unreal Engine 5. So every generation helps, even though the frequency hertz is similar. And Unreal 5 is quite known for being CPU bound, quite heavy on the CPU. A lot of the tech utilizing the cores. What they're trying to do now is multi-threading more and support more cores to handle that, because most of the new CPUs have multiple cores, and to be able to utilize them better is obviously good for gaming. I don't have all locations. Obviously the jungle also benefit from this. I don't have the examples here, but like I said, you can expect anything from 17 to 55% overall in the world, just traveling around, including the jungle. We also have a gain here. So yeah, every generation leap makes a difference. And Unreal Engine is not very happy with older tech. It scales quite robust with newer tech, both on CPU and GPU. But we managed to get quite a lot of the CPU load bottleneck down, so people can utilize the graphic card a little bit better. So yeah, hopefully all of you guys can confirm that you see the different performance gains, both around players and in the world. It should absolutely be noticeable, more or less. What is the reckoning? So the reckoning is our next expansion patch. So we rearranged sprint 10 and 11 a little bit, and it made sense. Some of you guys pointed out directly they really want to have the adrenaline system without the combat abilities. We did plan to have a few basic abilities, but we agree after we discuss and go further into it, it makes sense to deliver the combat abilities along with the adrenaline system. So we moved over the adrenaline system from 10 to the reckoning, which is sprint 11. We call it the reckoning because it's more of an expansion. We're gonna share with you every second week. We're gonna do updates. We're gonna show you parts of these systems, and I'm also gonna stream in depth live, demonstrate these systems, just to show you, what you can expect. And also it's a good opportunity to get some feedback to see if there's something we want to tweak around or change before we get into PTR. Darkbrawn, that's actually a new setup, so I haven't said this before. This is a new approach. We want to be as open as we can with the development, and rather than just having it quite closed and then bam, quick PTR and go live, we want to show a little bit more of the progression as we move. Yeah. What is your PC build? I have a 13,900K. So not the latest generation from Intel, but still a solid CPU. And I have 3090 and 4090 graphic card from NVIDIA. No 50 series yet. Those are released, obviously, that are the next gen that are looking to be quite good, but we haven't got our hands on the 50 series yet. We hope that NVIDIA can share some cards so we can see how they perform as well. So we're gonna reveal a little bit more of a schedule when it comes to. We're gonna reveal. We're most likely starting with Invasion next. We're gonna show you a little bit of that, and I'm gonna stream to show you guys a little bit of that as well. And then we're gonna probably go into the Adrenaline ability system to show you some of that. We actually have set up a motion capture system again. Really cool stuff. It's still the best out there, and actually large companies are using them. So we have some cool stuff. We have these different gloves and suits, so we look like ninjas, and it's really cool. The motion we can get out of it when performing moves is just epic. I mean, it's such a huge difference from manual animation to motion capture. It just looks super realistic and nice. So we're doing a lot of work on that when it comes to combat abilities and different moves. So that's going to be exciting. I will show you some of that as well in the upcoming stream. We're not adding any power glove support at this point, but you know, in the future anything is possible. Nudity when? That's a good question as well. Let me see. A lot of different questions here. Really hope combat abilities don't repeat the same mistake as Star Wars Galaxies with the combat overall, as someone stated previously. I mean, I never was a really fan of Star Wars Galaxies combat system. It was a little bit strange, I thought. I played it since day one. I loved the game. There were so many things I really enjoyed in Star Wars Galaxies, but I always found the abilities to be strange. You know, if I did multiple round kicks, I died. It took health from me every time I used a round kick. I found it strange. I never fully liked it. I didn't understand why they did it like that. So that's actually probably one of the only thing that I wasn't very happy about in Star Wars Galaxies. Pretty much everything else I enjoyed, but the combat was strange. If I spammed those combat abilities, I died. What the hell? I took life every time I hit. That's strange to me, right? I didn't get it. So obviously that's nothing we're gonna do, right? The skill tree was pretty cool. Yeah, I liked it. I like pretty much all things in Star Wars Galaxies except using the abilities that kill you. If I just spam them, I died. I killed myself. What the hell was that? So yeah. But yeah, obviously, you know, I'm gonna go in depth. I'm gonna show combat abilities on a stream, and we're gonna talk about it. We are interesting timing your input in early on. And we're going to also put some PTR early on so we can start getting balanced feedback that all of them are useful, they're skillful. Some of them are more risk reward to utilize, and some of them are more, you know, you use them frequently. Some may be more, you know, situational. Yeah, we got a lot of feedback on TC, as I said. That's why it's on the Reckoning roadmap as well. There's going to be a huge overhaul when it comes to how you control land. You know, the circles it doesn't play out well now after we have collected feedback and how it works. We are all on the same page that the circle colliding and how you control that area and so on. You know, we're not happy with it, so it's gonna change into we're gonna have region-based Milan where every region you can fight to control, set your rules, and collect the bonuses from those regions. So yeah, absolutely, we collected feedback for a long time, but we don't want to rush a change and then it's not good either. We want to need to overhaul again and again and again. That's something that are, you know, quite typical in these type of game, and it's easy to get into those loops, which we have done before in the old game. We want to make sure that we have the whole picture, and this is a solid change that is for the better, and it can stay. We don't want to reinvent functions, you know, every now and then. Yeah, the chat system is awesome. It has everything you could expect in a modern MMO, pretty much. Tabs, customizable color options, highlight items, link items, very robust chat system. You know, you're gonna take a look on it soon as well. Alliance chat, yes, we have updates there as well. Made 3 broken TC. We haven't had 3 TC systems. We've had 2. One from the old game 10 years ago and one in Immortal 2. And a lot of things, you know, was cool and exciting initially in both systems, but after a while pan out, you will see what doesn't work good enough and how, you know, we want to update it. Some people may think that what we had in MO1 is better than what we have now, but it was far from good. We have a lot of issues in the first game as well. So we want to take a safer approach. That's why we're taking our time. It's never good to stress complicated systems and you know, get them half good. We want to make sure it's a good base system that can expand on, that the core base there is good enough. And like I said, we're going to go in all of these systems. I'm going to go in depth, showcase live and stream about. So we're going to, you know, go through them more in depth so everyone can follow along exactly what's going to happen. Pareto. What about more reputation, judgment punished for committed crimes in NPC territory? It makes slums into... yeah, we actually planning to expand the standing system as well. It makes sense, especially with the AI stuff we have planned. It's too little, you know, to max, gain, lose. And the consequences is nothing, right? So we plan to expand that heavily as well, yes. And to make it a huge stair to reach more impressive steps where there are also different bonuses. Yeah, we don't have any timeline dates that I can reveal at this point. We are planning to reveal those estimates when we're a little bit closer. We feel more secure that we can handle the release in that time. Obviously, we have our internal schedules and estimates, but those can be adjusted quite heavily still today, depending on what we're doing. So we need a little bit more time until we give final dates for Reckoning and New Continent. But it's in this year, obviously. We're not talking about years away. Hold the honor. So it's a very bold statement that we are the worst ever and worst in New World. I don't know if you're new here or old here, but comparing us to New World, Amazon, a multi-billion project, to Star Vault, 20 to 30 man crew with a nickel compared to the multi-billion dollar. It's a pretty bold comparison, and I'm not sure if it's a fair comparison, right? Obviously, we are flattered to be compared to the world's biggest company in the world. I mean, that's crazy. But obviously, there will be differences. And if you haven't noticed, one of the big complaints, especially for those that don't have next generation hardware, says, please optimize the game, do nothing else, just optimize the game, make it run solid and smooth. So, you know, obviously, We agree. We want many players to be able to enjoy the game, even on all the hardware. So of course we need to improve performance, because it's a huge requirement for a lot of players to be able to enjoy it. So that's something we're doing. And then we have, exciting content that everyone can enjoy. I take it as a compliment, because how the hell are you comparing us with Amazon? They are a multi-billion company, one of the biggest in the world, and we are starved. If you compare us, and they are a little bit better than us leading that project, if you think so, wow, I think it's a compliment. We do things a little bit different. We can't work and do the same thing as those giants, obviously, because how the hell can we, right? We can't just throw a few billions on handle this, build that, do that. We are a small team, and we have to do things very differently. And we can fully understand that sometimes that may not make sense. Everyone may not agree with our approach and how we prioritize things. But we discussed this very in depth. We have been doing this in 20 years. And, for us, some things are quite clear how we need to do things to make it work. So, but yeah. New World is obviously a very different game, a cool, different MMO compared to Mortal Line 2. And there will be people that loves New World that can't stand Mortal Line, and vice versa, right? Because they're very different. The game is growing, if you didn't know, Utopia. We are very happy with the growth and where we are heading at. There will always be breaks and cycles up and down, but that doesn't mean the game is dying. That's extremely desperate. We've been running Mortal 9 for 20 years. We have many different cycles. And every time there's something you don't like or see a cycle downtrend, bam, it's dying. Oh, we have to quit. We're pulling the plug. Is the company shutting down? No, calm down. This is a golden year for us. We are extremely excited about the work we're doing, and we are positive that you're going to enjoy our upcoming expansions, no doubt. We have done this for 20 years. We don't panic. We're here for the long run. So take it easy and enjoy the ride, or take a break if you need to. That's fully understandable. We are not worried about that. We see healthy numbers. We see a very stable subscription base, and that's the most important for us. If we don't have support and subscriptions, people finding the game, paying for it, even with minimum marketing or even none at all, things will be different. We have positive numbers. We are very excited. And when we go through these in details, in Reckoning and others, I think you're going to see why we are excited. Because this is stuff we've been waiting for quite a while. And many of you guys have been asking for quite a while. So don't worry, we will inform you if things are moving in wrong direction. We are very transparent and open. We are also a public company. So we are very open with that. We will inform everyone if things are moving in the wrong direction, because we have many options as a company and we are evaluating all of them. But right now we're on a path to a very exciting year, a path to success, and we have goals we want to reach and hope we will reach. And we will see if we reach them this year. What's new AI tech? So in month of April, I plan to do a live stream where I'm gonna go through that as well. So as you can understand, we will be doing a little bit more of streams and updates more regularly, where you will see where we will go through them in more depth and explain them. It's better to show them live, right, than me just talking about them. You don't like the master system? The majority have said it was awesome when we released it and have been enjoying it, and there's a lot of things to refine on your characters, so we achieved what we hoped to. And the feedback in general, it can never be 100%. That's impossible in these types of games. I mean, if I only ask you guys to talk about balance, you will 50-50 disagree on most of the things. So obviously people can't love every single thing in Mortal 9. It's impossible. So when you shout out, oh, fix mastery, I don't like it, That may be true to you, but maybe the majority enjoys it. That's something you need to consider. You can't be egoistic and think, if I don't like this, no one does. That's not life. That doesn't work. That's not realistic. We can never have 100% success rate and rating our systems to be close to 100% because it's impossible. But we have many systems that everyone in here can say, I play Model 9 and I enjoy Model 9 because of this and that reason. And that may differ a lot because it's a true sandbox game, right? Master is great. I don't like Mastery. You see, that's the proof of what I'm just talking. Trinkets. I love trinkets because that gives me endgame. I can grind and farm without having to, lose the value on not having that value in trading them. Some people don't like it. Melee, magic. I don't like melee. I like magic. I don't have to go deeper, but this is obviously, some people love and play the game only to be tamers. Some people hate pets. That's a sandbox and that's life. We have to accept that we are humans that think different and enjoy different things. And we can't doom and throw crap to every single fellow human because they don't think the same as you. We have to embrace differences and just accept that, okay, I don't like that, but I love this. And we are the devs, so obviously we will get all the crap and we understand that and we accept it. But we hope that you can at least understand. We have an impossible journey to make it perfect for everyone. But hopefully it will be a unique, great MMO, sandbox MMO for many of you guys. That's the goal. Lyrics, yeah, we're gonna use the in-game service quite a lot more. We have a few upcoming. Absolutely. Now when we have it in, obviously we wanna utilize it as much as possible. So we're getting on that as well. Also needs love. I agree. There's a lot of people that want to play as a more fully fledged ranger style, and I think that will be possible with the combat system. We have some really cool abilities that allows you to be more of a fully fledged ranged fighter rather than having to be a secondary ranged using ranged weapons. There's some few cool things where you can parry with the bow and thrust with the arrows and do quick charges and such and leaps. And that is the key where I think you can become a really cool, skillful ranger type of style, and you don't have to rely on melee fight weapons, even though obviously you have more weak towards a fully fledged melee when it's up close, naturally, right? Obviously, if you pair with the bow, that comes to a cost at the bow, right? The durability. And we're not sure if you're gonna thrust with the arrows or be able to have a real dagger at the same time, which you can thrust with up close, but still using the bow as a main weapon. Those are the things we're experimenting with. That some of it, makes sense and it gives interesting gameplay with skills and offer you more unique playstyles rather than meta. Obviously, you may not want to fully parry everything with your bow because it's gonna break eventually, right? But when times is needed, you may be able to use it to parry something. Dagger stab fast counter attack on bow parry. Those are the things that we're looking at, right? We will see. Yes, you should be able to buy sub with Steam Wallet, if I'm not mistaken. There should be some options. Could we have more durable bows then? Maybe, obviously when we test all these things, like I said on PTR, the combat abilities, we may have to tweak durability and different things depending on those abilities. Or just simply tweak, the durability costs when using them. I can't really show the adrenaline system now, and that wasn't planned. I actually have a dedicated stream planned to show that system, show it live, and go through it in depth. But this stream was more to, give everyone an update so you know why we're updating the roadmap. We don't want to ninja update roadmap and have people panic and draw their own conclusion what that means. So we take the opportunity to update everyone here live, and we're gonna update the roadmap with this content. We did some small adjustments, but those make sense, and some of you guys also reached out why released a relevant system without the fully fledged combat system, and we agree. It's gonna be more fun to have that, and of course it's gonna be even more fun to fight an invasion with this new combat system. And not only that, the fatality system, really cool stuff that I'm gonna show in a live stream next. We've been discussing as well, you know, the elementalism, if the magic damage part should be the same type of magic damage as ecumenical, which then means it will be also resistible by psych. And that also means we have potions and different alchemies that are also coming that can be utilized to resist and affect those damage types. We're gonna have a few in-game service regarding this as well. And like I said, at the same time, we're giving new spell power to the mages, reactive armor and such, which means they have better survivability when it comes to physical damage in those situations. So we want to implement those steps simultaneously. That's the goal, at least. I can't say when we are doing the entities for elementalism. There's a few things we first want to finish with that specific coder that are usually doing magic work. But when he's done with those areas, naturally he may go back on focusing on magic. What about the Sprint 10 patch? When? So we're getting close to PTR for Sprint 10. We're going to make the announcement soon when it's time. Obviously, it's good if some of you guys want to jump in and just run around, try anything, because we are moving over to Unreal Engine 5.5. And also great if you can confirm your performance results, because as I share with you guys, we get pretty solid performance gains. Everything from 17% to 55 increased in FPS, which is pretty good on the different hardware. And it's great to see that you also can confirm what you're getting, since you have way more different hardware than we have in-house. Will there be any new content in Sprint 10? Nothing. I wouldn't say that there's main content other than the new chat system, which is quite a huge thing. I think you're gonna be a little bit surprised how big it is and how customizable it's gonna be. But we are aiming to do a few bug fixes, obviously, and some nasty things we want to fix. And maybe, depending on the time there, we may be able to do some of that balance with tower shields, the new spell for mages. We want to do them at the same time, right? But those are a big question mark at this point, so don't take my word that they will make it in Sprint 10. But we will know soon. We're going to use Skeleton Mesh nanites in 5.5. No, we're still not going to utilize nanites because it's simply too expensive. We are just gaining FPS. I've been telling everyone that, you know, those that have low faith that we're going to see any FPS gains. If we would just enable those eye candy things now, we will lose the FPS that we just managed to gain. We want to make sure that everyone, even the doomer, you know, doom and gloomer, that says you're not gonna improve the FPS, hopefully they will be honest enough and say, okay, I gained this much. It may not be to their liking if they have very old hardware, because obviously it's harder to gain more FPS on very old hardware, older generation, but it will be noticeable for everyone, including very old hardware. Henrik, do my love. So, and everyone benefit from better FPS. I mean, we can even see every few and now and then Steam reviews, oh, the FPS is way too bad, I can't enjoy the game because it's super laggy. They mean bad FPS. Obviously, if they're playing on I don't know, 15 years old computer, you shouldn't expect to run this game very good, because it is a next-gen MMO. It have world-leading visual appearance levels for a true sandbox game, and you can be as many as you want on the screen. Nothing stops you to go there, which means FPS in your client will be the limiting factor. Try to remove lumen on a build, it should be 20 to 40 FPS. We did that lyrics and we gained 4 FPS, 4 to 5 FPS. As I mentioned before, we are not using default lumens, because if we did, you would gain 20 to 40 FPS. You're correct if we use that. But we're not using the default settings. We have highly optimized and done workaround to make sure that lumens run very good and don't kill the FPS. And we have done further optimization, as I said, in this patch. So hopefully you will see. Try to compare online now, you know, record this is my location, I'm getting this FPS. Make sure there are not 100 people around you that you don't see, because that will also have an impact. And then compare that on the next patch to see what your FPS are looking at, and hopefully you will be able to confirm a decent improvement. And yeah, these numbers are without any frame gen, DLSS, FSR or anything. Those scales are very different depending on hardware and what generation. The downside is the better hardware you have, the better they scale without any input lag. So you're going from, you know, 150 FPS, which is already enough, to 350 FPS, which you almost don't need, and you get no additional input lag. But if you're running around with 20 FPS, very old hardware, and you utilize that, you may go up to 50, 60 FPS, which is making it decent, but then you notice the input lag. So that's one of the bad thing, I guess, with frame generation on older hardware. We haven't considered split up other servers dedicated with PvE only. You know, every year we get a few requests. They want a non-PvP server, but it doesn't really say Mortal Online. We hope to be able to expand the role enough with enough consequences that you can find your spot in the world to avoid as much PvP as possible and enjoy that. But there will always be a risk of player conflict, because it's a huge part of what Mortal Online, a true sandbox, is. But obviously if you have a cramped small area, you're forced into PvP and death. But if we expand the world and there's a lot of options, you will be able to find your way in the world where you can minimize murdering and PvP for your liking. Just want 60 FPS with 300 people on the screen, please. Joan Motako, it depends 100% on the hardware. But yeah, I did share the numbers, right? The top of the line hardware, we got test numbers on Intel 14900K on a 3090 card, already 2 generation old, but a top of the line card still, right? 250 characters on live is 48 FPS. On our current build, he have 83 FPS. Pretty good, pretty good. I mean, running around with 83 FPS with 250 players around you, that's a 70% increase. But obviously that's the top of the line hardware, right? So it scales very good there. Lies? What do you mean lies? We just have the numbers from the exact data. What? I can't show any demo of the chat. I don't have a build up to date, but we can probably start sharing. Like I said, we're gonna share every week. We're gonna update now. It can be something small, screenshots, you know, anything every week to show updates so you can see the progress. But yeah, I haven't had time to do that. There's a lot of things going on right now, and you know, I don't have any super exciting to show you guys, unfortunately. But like I said, my upcoming patch is gonna be juice, because that's when I go in depth on every single of these systems. And like I said, we're going to announce the PTR that we're getting close to as well for Sprint 10. So we're getting close to that. No, so the UI for the new chat is the thing that we beautify last, lyrics. We do the function, placeholder, just getting the system in, testing it, making sure it tests, while the artist can start doing the real final art UI, and then that goes in last. So right now it doesn't look very good. I could show functions and all the options you have, which is really nice, but we don't want to show preholder. What the hell is the word I'm looking for? Placeholder. A lot of people, confuse placeholder art with holy shit, it looks so bad. Well, we said it's placeholder, but it looks so bad. Can't you make it look better? It's placeholder. We don't want to go down that road. We've done it before. We learned from it, and we want to avoid annoyances for us and you. But yes, absolutely. We're going to show all of this in upcoming weeks. Every week we're going to update with something. Can be screenshot, updates on website, and then I'm going to do streams in depth. So we will cover them so you will know what to expect. I mean, the function we have support for right now in the chat system is quite awesome. First of all, we can access the chat from anywhere in the world, from any app in the world. We can even have a mortal app, and you can access it, and you can access the broker, everything. It's so dynamic right now with our new backend. We can link an item, you can highlight an item, you can show your crafted weapon in a trade chat, for instance, and you'll be able to see the stats on it. We support anything of that now, like any modern MMO does. You can customize the chat and tabs and colors however you want. So it's extremely robust. We can do anything pretty much. It's just a matter of how we want to represent it and what we want to allow. So yeah, it's extremely dynamic now and fully interactable with our backend system, with our AI system. So it's endless. We can go extremely far. We can even have a guide for new players talking to an AI. It goes infinitely right now because we have set it up to be able to communicate in all those ways. Yeah, QnA Online, I played that game quite a lot back in the days from release. And yes, they had a linking item system that we also have now. So we're looking at a spell, we call it reactive armor, kind of like in UO, but our take on it. So imagine that you cast, there's a few rules that we haven't decided yet, and that's part of the balance and feedback, I guess. But if you can cast a armor shield on you, which is also invisible, like a magic reflect armor. And this runs for X amount of minutes, but as soon as someone hits you physically, melee damage or so, it enables a reactive armor buff that lasts for X seconds. I don't know, 10, 12, we don't know yet, right? But that means the first hit, it reduces X amount of percentage of that physical damage. The next hit, it reduces less, and the third hit, it loses less, and then the shield runs out. Or the timer runs out, one of those two, right? So that's the basic we're looking at, the reactive armor shield. So obviously, mages running with the tower shield, if we add a strength implementation requirement, they will not be able to do that anymore, but they will be able to learn this spell, obviously, to be able to have room for survival when getting hit by melee damage, and may have a chance to get that gap, especially a dex mage, right, to rely on speed and get a gap from those melee footies, right? So there should be a chance to counter, because they're now losing the incredible powerful tower shield that is not really, that wasn't intended, right? And I think the majority also think it's a little bit silly when you go into the corner with a tower shield on the back and you're a tank all of a sudden as a mage. Mages are too survivable, Henrik. But it's mostly because of the tower shield, right? without the tower shield, they are extremely weak, mostly. I mean, we have a lot of mages that enjoy playing mages. Obviously, we don't want to wreck them, right? As we said many times, this game is supposed to have all the roles that we intend to, and they will never be perfect balance because it's impossible, because in some situation they are good balance, in another situation they may be worse balance, depending on what happens and how many players and where they are and so on. But, you know, just removing their ability that they rely on heavily today, that makes them very powerful without a counter. And we always had plans to add reactive armor sooner or later. I think I mentioned this in the past, and it makes most sense to add that spell if we want to make the strength requirement update. I think most people would agree, including those that enjoy playing mages and those that can't stand mages. But obviously the numbers, we want to test that around to see if you know, that works. This would be ecumenical spell. Yes, it's planned for ecumenical currently, and quite high. So there's a few things. We don't want it to be a new meta where any footy also throw that on them and they have additional shield for melee. So it's going to be a high requirement on ecumenical skill, but we may also be looking at stats that affect the power. We don't want a footy to use it as a meta. It doesn't make sense. And we may not want them to stack up with magic reflection. So one disables the other, so you have to choose, right? Those are some things that we're looking at as well to make sure they are balanced and under control. Yeah, it's some footies that may have 100 echo. We have, like I said, we're looking at some stats modification that will determine how effective it is. So in that case, you know, if you're a footy with 10 int, obviously we have hybrids, we have other builds that have higher int. So there's a few things we're looking at there. And mana cost is one natural, yeah, exactly. Do it like 60 mana or so is one factor, right? So I think we have enough numbers or data to play around with to get it useful where we want it to be, you know, a real mage, right? I don't know the exact strength requirement, but you know, I think the base frame for Tower Shield, we're getting up into the 80s, around 80s. It will most likely be embedded dynamically in when you craft it, so depending on those factors, it will be more or less strength. But a big Tower Shield is meant to be heavy. It's meant to be a strong warrior that can decide to go for heavy defense and go for it, right? It was never meant to be a little dex mage that you can't even see. You only see the big shield on the back. It's a little silly. That wasn't really intended. So we try step towards that with you know, some of the threshold, but a strength requirement, that's, you know, the final end we're looking at. Can we see more point winners in jungle? I mean, depending on the phases, and if the community wants us to focus on more points of interest and spread things around, then obviously that may be partly parts of our focus in upcoming sprints. Right now we have a fully packed schedule. As you can see here, we have Reckoning, which is our next expansion. It's probably the biggest thing since release. It's packed with content, really cool stuff. There's twist to the invasion. There's a lot of cool loot things. So I think that there will be something for everyone. You know, so obviously majority of you guys are excited for combat. We're also looking to update the AI behavior and the combat with PvE, making it more skillful and exciting. And we have completely new types of AI implemented into the game. You know, the invasion is really awesome, and I'm going to go in depth how that works as well. Obviously, there will be connected awesome rewards to participate in stopping the invasion and save the lands, you know. So we're very packed with that, and of course we're working on a whole new continent as well for North America. But you know, there will obviously eventually be more room for okay, or the community looking to add more specific type of content, and we may be adding that as well in upcoming sprints. No, exactly. What stops a mage from casting reactive armor on footies and just making that the hard meta? Exactly, we don't want that, right? So as I said, there's a few things we're considering. It could be that reactive armor dispels magic reflection. What would you choose as a footy? Reactive armor or magic reflection? A quick question for you guys. Reactive armor 95% of the time. All right, so as I said, we don't want a strong warrior footy to be useful using reactive armor, because you know it's not intended that way. So we're actually looking at a few things. One thing is self-cast only, like Vlad is saying here. It does give us special rules, and we don't really like special rules. So, but it's on the table. We have stat checks. We know what most footies, you know, how they're built with int, strength, you know, those main stats. So we can use those to make it extremely weak depending on their variation. And where the sweet spot is a pure mage or a dex mage, where reactive armor gets its full effect. While if you have the wrong stats, it's crap. So you will not waste it on reactive armor. You will have it on magic reflect instead. So there's a few things that we can do, right, to make it where we want it to be. Intelligent plus side check. Yeah, though those are options. I don't know exactly what approach we're gonna take, but these are some of the options. Self-cast only, it's a special rule. I know that Sebastian hates those, but in some cases, that's the only or best solution. But we have stats, right? We have mana cost. There's a few things we can check that may be enough to naturally have it balanced where we want it to be. We want mages to use it mainly, and it should be a possible replacement for tower shields. Skate to armor weight. Higher weight means less effective. That could be one option. Make a scale with Psy. Because, you know, some hybrids, human styles, etc. We need to consider those stats as well. You know, if they go high in Psy or something, or they having the reactive armor as a meta, you know, and how does that affect the entire balance in the world? We don't want to cause some new chaos, right? And like I said, you know, one shield may remove the other one. So if you are one of those hybrids with good stats for these spells, you still have to choose reflective magic reflection or reactive armor, because one removes the other. There's a few options. We have to play around with it, and then of course PTR and test it to see. It should be useful, interesting, but it shouldn't be the main meta for all playstyles. We don't want that. Tied to armor weight. Yeah, maybe that could be something. Some good suggestions. I'm sure you guys have good input to help us making it useful and balance it so it's used where we intend it to be used, right? Save someone from getting dismounted. I don't know about that. Again, now it goes into more and more special areas that can be sensitive. But obviously, we appreciate the support and input here, where you find those cases and, you know, some good suggestions where we may get good control on balancing it. Tied to armor weight is best so far. Yeah, could be good actually. I'm taking notes. Uh, what are you guys looking forward to most? The combat abilities with adrenaline updates, or invasion system with tons of new loot, rewards, and PvE updates. Combat ability, invasion, and yeah, of course we have TC as well, right? That's a big one. Invasion with content, combat, weapon abilities, invasion. Pretty interesting. I couldn't even make a, just for the fun of it. Obviously, we're not representing everyone, but let me do a little quick poll for the fun of it. Do a quick quick vote, just for the fun of it. So I'm gonna have a stream where I go through all the combat abilities, and I'm gonna show some of them, so you get a good feel for them, and then the big journey starts to balancing them all, making sure they're all useful in different ways, and some doesn't stand out being way too powerful, or some are completely crap and never used. So we're gonna run a little bit longer PTR most likely when we're gonna give you access to the combat abilities. The Reckoning is our expansion patch, the next patch, not the next patch, but our next huge content. I did a pretty quick vote. People are still voting, but yeah, pretty interesting. TC Overhaul is obviously player conflicts, a lot of players involved. I can see that's being a strong thing, especially for all players that are in that top tier, right? So it's good that we have it on our table. We're working on it. So yeah, I didn't plan to talk about TC either in detail. So all of these, TC, AI, combat, adrenaline, invasion, all of them I'm gonna have a dedicated stream for. So I'm gonna be a little bit busy with content updates and streaming for you guys, because there's some exciting things, and it's good to get your input as well, showing them a little bit early as well before we are finalizing things. So I plan to go through all of them, and I plan to have streams for all of them. I'm also planning to do streams for upcoming content and, you know, the stuff around that as well. So you can expect to see more frequent website updates. We're gonna share video clips and screenshots, small updates on our website, you know, from small things to bigger things, and where we are ready to showcase live in a build. I will sit here live and stream it and go more in depth, show you guys and talk about it. So I didn't plan to go in depth on any of these topics on this stream. Also, I'm getting close to my 2-hour mark. But I will have dedicated streams for every single topic. So if you're the one, obviously, that you're interested in, you'll be able to get more in depth with them. Any planned buffs to augments to make them more viable? We don't have any major specific focus on the clade balancing. There's a few things we are aware of, and there's a few things we are discussing. Also, we have the Augmer, what the clade gift called, the one that you stand still and get higher armor. We're discussing to make you able to move slowly with it when you have that buff, rather than just standing still. You know, some small things like that that could give you more. Yeah, exactly, rock solid. That just makes it a little bit more useful. You know, sometimes those small changes does a huge impact. You know, so we're careful, but so we're looking at some of those possible changes. Do you have a number of keeps planned for Sarka? We have a number of keeps planned for next continent. Yes, we will most likely reveal that as well. So currently the new map is a little bit smaller than Midland currently. Midland is quite large, very much larger than Mortal 1 Midland, but we also have like 10 times the population at any time. So, but it's, you know, quite noticeable. As soon as we hit a few specific number on the thousands, things change very quickly. So it is smaller than Midland currently. The thing is also, as we mentioned, people may not consider this or think about it, but we are tapping into a new audience. We have several thousands of American players that want to play for the first time ever, only because of the new continent. And if that population is, you know, doubling up, and we also obviously we're going to have a European players that want to explore the new lands, it can quite quickly become crowded, depending on how many new players are showing up to join the game finally. So we need to consider that as well. You know, we can't just expect that, well, it's going to be the same players as we have today, and we're just going to move over. That's going to be fine. We are planning to do marketing in North America, and we plan to reach those few thousands of American players that said they won't play until they have a North American server to play on. Especially those West Coast, right? That there are absolutely noticeable differences for those due to ping when it comes to being that far away. I mean, I have a lot of people I know in North America that are, some of them, huge influencers and streamers. They say they love the game, they've been following it, but they won't play it because they want to be on competitive level, and they refuse to play without having a North American server. The question is how many there are, right? And how much of a marketing we can hit and reach in new players. So yeah, obviously that's going to be exciting, and of course we're going to do everything we can to reach out to a lot of new players that are interested to play the game. The ping normalization makes things very playable. I don't know if you tried Mortal 1 or have been here in the old days when we didn't have that system. We have a lot of players from America and even Australia that play Mortal 1 that knows the difference and say, shit, it is a huge difference. I couldn't play as a footy before and be anything on the field, but now I can. The difference is I can. I was forced to play a mage only. But of course, the worse ping you have, the more noticeable of the issues when it comes to especially parry being behind and such. So of course, I think the best solution, which the majority agrees on, it's still one world. We can all travel everywhere. We can still play with all of our friends. But now we can travel across continents that are located across the world. You know, everyone can enjoy. They can be on their favorite area, but they can still participate in sieges, conflicts, and travel across the continents. But there will be a ping differences, obviously, more or less depending on what continent you are on. But yeah, absolutely. Again, good point, Goose Lords. Many people think that ping works as in Counter-Strike, right? You can't play Counter-Strike with 110 ping. I know that myself because I was on a high competitive level when I was playing Quake back in the days and some Counter-Strike, and you didn't play with 100 plus ping because it's a very different network and you will simply not be able to perform at all. That is very different from multi-line latency. The entire network structure is very different. It doesn't work the same way. So the thing is, many people don't consider it, but even though you live next to the very server in London, there are this room for where there is a latency difference, and you know, it's also waiting for a certain ping response from the server before you can respond in game and synchronize it with others. That's always there, and it sometimes can be some quirkiness, and sometimes there can be some flukes, make it more noticeable for everyone. So there's also a shadow number or knowledge where everyone in North America thinks, well, it's a day and night because it's completely different from European players and North American players. It's not that hard that many think it is. It's getting more noticeable when you get in the higher ranges, you know, such as West Coast America. That's why we have many on a competitive level on East Coast America playing in multi-line that doesn't really complain on the ping because it works for them, and it didn't work in Mortal 1. So it's not perfect, it never will be until we get better latency worldwide tech, but it's much, much better. It's almost magic, as some devs said. How the hell did we manage to do that? But yeah, West Coast is horrible. Sometimes I can't even dual bandit. Yeah, like I said, West Coast is obviously furthest away, where it also gets worse. And different routing jumps, there's more room for error when it takes the traveling to our network, and those can be flukes causing some disappointment in a very important opportunity, right? So yeah, that's why we agree that, you know, it makes sense to place our next continent on North America so they can choose and play on the same terms, and we tap into a new audience that can't enjoy the game as much as East Coast and Europe can, right? No, we're still doing ping test locations on our local network within our host from Central to West Coast, playing around with that. There are different locations Central that are quite interesting, and we're very surprised how good the performance is locally for entire North America as soon as we have a server in North America. It's not like if we put it on West Coast or East Coast, it's gonna be shit for the other side of the coast. Our system is good enough to be on equal terms across America as long as it's located in America. I'm in the Midwest US. I have no latency issue whatsoever. The game is very playable for me. Yeah, like I said, it is like there's a magical line when it goes past Central America, more towards West. That's where quirkiness starts to happen, more routing jumps, and flukes can happen. And a fluke is enough to give a bad combat experience when you really need stability. Did I say the shit word? What do you mean, Barney? So yeah, you know, we're looking at different areas still. We haven't fully decided where exactly in North America, but you can be pretty sure that any of you American players, you can rest assured that for you it doesn't matter really where we have it located. Sure, you will see a little bit better number, but as long as it is in-house North America, the ping normalization will be good enough within those numbers that you don't have to worry about it. It's more going to be the European players that may have those boundaries where it gets quirky again. If it's West Coast, US East will have bad ping. But that's the thing. We have done tests and that's not really accurate. Like I said, everything within America, you know, based on those that we have tried, it's good enough. It's within the threshold where our ping normalization and prediction systems works. You have to go beyond America to start tapping into the worse experience. Don't recognize your English accent. From which state are you from, Henrik? Jerusalem. I'm not from the States. Don't say swears, Henrik. It's not. Did I swear? I didn't even notice it. When did I swear? What did I say? Henrik, if you build it, they will come. Henrik, will Saga map mimic MO1 map, or will it be updated to be completely different? You will see, you will see. We will have a little reveal soon enough, and you will get some information. Can you explain what adrenaline system going to be? There's a ton of speculation. Yeah, I just briefly discussed the adrenaline system before, but I plan to do a deep diving in an upcoming stream. I'm going to have quite a few streams packed in the upcoming weeks, where we go through every single feature here on the Reckoning expansion pack. The adrenaline is connected with the fatality system, and it's also connected with the combat ability. To perform any combat ability, you need adrenaline. And to build adrenaline, you need to either take damage or pass damage or parry or mercy kill someone. You're gonna do some crazy stuff, mercy killing stuff to a whole new level. Next generation kills, awesome stuff, motion capture, violence, and that will tap into even more adrenaline. You will get such an adrenaline rush when you perform these crazy fatality moves. You will feel the adrenaline for real. Not only your character, but you as a player will feel the goosebumps in your neck, and you will say, holy shit, bam! And then you will use that adrenaline to perform combat abilities. That's the short take. So we don't have a public date on Reckoning release. When we get closer, we're gonna have a lot of PTR testing. You know, we're gonna have a date eventually. Then we just need nudity back with adrenaline. So, yeah, surprisingly many are asking for the nudity back. And, you know, one of the most popular video ever from Online was the uncensored female nudity clip. Motion capture physics. Holy shit, that was popular. So we can see the interest in it. And we want to get it back. It's just that it haven't been very high up there on our prioritizing list, for, you know, some pretty good reasons. But I personally do want to enable that little pack, you know, as soon as we have a spare time to finally give that back to you. Of course, it was motion capture, Lindis. When we're getting hand-holding patch, Henrik, what do you mean specifically with hand-holding patch? Anyone know which NS state the server will be located, please? No, we haven't decided yet. We are doing internal test on our provider host, where they have a network over entire North America, from west to east, central. And we get some really exciting results in a few different areas, Central America. Equal perfect ping for everyone across North America. So as long as you're in North America, you don't have to even worry about it. It's a more question, will Australia, Asia have some bonuses benefit from accessing that server, and European have worse, or will European tap into better access on that server and Australian not as much? Those are some of the main, you know, decision that affects the players the most. But for you, all of you guys in North America, you don't have to worry actually at all where it's located, because you're gonna absolutely be within a ping normalization threshold that you're outside of playing on Mirland from West Coast, for instance. So yeah, but obviously, like I said, we have to do some more tests, and the data should speak for itself, and then we will decide and make it public. Yeah, so I shared with you guys some of the performance we have from our different hardware internally so far. They're still being worked on, so you may even expect better performance in various locations. But we're quite happy with our absolutely noticeable client FPS performance updates. Every one of you will notice it. Obviously, it depends how much it will scale depending on your hardware, how old generation of hardware you have. Unreal Engine does scale very well with newer hardware, so that's a given one we can't ever fully escape. I can't say when instruments for Bart's media file support is coming. We have good design for it. We obviously it's fun, exciting stuff, but right now we are all fully focused on our 2 very huge expansion that's going to happen in the coming months this year. There are going to be things in between, right, and fixes and polish. So obviously there will be more minor patches, but these are the big ones. Reckoning, our biggest expansion since release, and of course new land, a whole new continent to explore, located in North America, are the 2 big things that we're gonna dive deeper into in upcoming streams and updates. So we're gonna be more transparent and do frequent small updates, hopefully every week with something, you know, at least a screenshot of our new stuff to show you guys progression in those areas. Lucky Saint, you will see when we reveal the new continent what you can expect, roughly size and setting and so on. So you will see. Where is Australia relative to the US? What? Bring up the world map. So, you know, it's not really the topic, but I can assure you, no names alone, that our staff team never ignore any petition when it comes to exploits or cheating or suspects. They always investigate. What we do lack in is proper tools to communicate and go back to you and have a robust system for that. It's pure hell for the GMs how they handle communication, logs, and so on, and then go back to players. You know, even if they logged out, they don't have a way to send you a message or leave you a message. So that's very painful for the staff members. And we can see how that affects you in terms of, well, it sounds like we're ignoring, or I didn't hear back, or, you know, something was missed. We can fully see how that can give the assumption of we don't care or we ignore. But I can assure you that there's nothing more than me and the team hates more than cheaters in our game. They want to destroy our game. They want to destroy the experience for all of us. We take it extremely serious, and we always discuss it. We always go through it, and we always have to spend and dedicate time on it. And we do ban and remove accounts every week, every month. And the other important part to this is with our new backend system, we will finally improve our communication tools and log tools so we can much more effectively communicate back to you and confirm things, and even have easy logs to access and leave messages. And some of these are also happening with the new chat system. So the chat system is going to be extremely robust also for the GMs. I'm sure you have seen the quirks when you're communicating with a GM, you know, sending those messages back and forth. It's not really solid, right? And it's hell for the GMs as well. And it's easy for them to miss it or not see what they have sent, and you can't see what they have whispered back to you. And it's all a mess, right? But like I said, we take it very seriously. We always go through it. We do the work. And now we are reaching the improvement in the back end that also affect this. So parts of that is also coming in this sprint 10, along with the new chat system. But yeah, like I said, we understand why that may be the view or assumption, but I can aware you. Imagine if something is doing a threat to your life, work, your business and livelihood, and it's criminals, you know. Obviously, you will do everything in your power to combat that, right? And that's exactly how it is for us. Plan to enable new DLSS 4 version in the game, or we can enable this version. So I actually have news about that. If I'm not mistaken, Sprint 10 gonna include that. So we're moving on to Unreal Engine 5.5 and the latest DLSS frame generation versions. So yeah, if you're one of those lucky bastards that managed to get a 50 series card, enjoy the highest tier of frame generation. And us that have the older generation RTX card can at least enjoy a better improved DLSS version, the 2x DLSS version frame generation. Goose Lord, I've heard a lot of that, you know, accessible buildings and so on. So I'm fully aware of a lot of this. The GMs take all of that, we discuss it internally, and we go through them case by case. The thing is, when players find creative ways of reaching areas, they do it using our allowed tools, no exploits, etc. That's when it becomes tricky, right? Okay, they did use spells, they did use function, and they did it in a correct way. No abuse, no cheating. Do we punish them and change it? Or, you know, do we just inform that it's done in a legit way? You know, you can also do it, and you can do the same thing. Or do we have to start interfering, like, okay, it's getting out of hand, we have to do much more restricted rules on placement and functions just to avoid it? That is a gray zone that is very tricky, because it's a sandbox game, right? And sometimes it's lovely, we all agree with it, and then sometimes, I don't like it, it's getting out of hand. That line there is very difficult where that is identified and where we draw it. So that's why it's not just a simple response that this is the thing, you know. Every case is very different, we always evaluate them. And in some cases, we have to address it with the devs, you know, go through the devs, like, look, this is not fun, no one is benefiting from it, it causes a lot of problems, now we need to do a code change, we need to prevent those things. But like I said, it varies from everything. So that is, again, one of the biggest challenges with a true sandbox game, where, you know, people expect, well, I invented this thing and this trick and using this in a legit way, why should I be punished, right? But obviously it's up to us to see, well, is that okay, or will it start, you know, give a really bad experience for everyone? That's where we have to intervene and see, okay, we need to go into the system and change codes or restrict things. So it's a very huge challenge for the GMs to get all the information, and then for us to see, you know, what do we need to act here, do we need to do something? Obviously, we intend that anything should be siegeable, that you can build and access. And in many cases where I've seen personally, this is cheat, I can't siege it, and then we'll investigate, and we'll look at the owners and say, yes, they don't know the information, but look, we're gonna show you how you can siege it. And they show us, and okay, yeah, that's legit. It's actually not a cheat, and you can siege it. So that's where it becomes tricky, right? Do we just respond, well, you say you can't siege it, but you can. We know, we have seen it, it's possible, so deal with it. We can see that is frustrating. Well, I don't seem to figure it out. You know, things like that. That's what I'm saying, the gray zone. Do we want to change the mechanics to prevent it? Because, you know, this is a skill where knowledge and player skills does matter. If you learn how to do something that no one else knows and it's not cheating, should you be punished, or should we change the rules? Or should that just simply be knowledge and power that you can learn others and others can figure it out? There's a lot of room for that in this game, which makes it difficult, because people can jump the gun and say, oh, they're cheating, it's impossible. And then we look and we confirm it's possible, it's not impossible. You know, that puts us in a tricky spot, because do we reveal it, do we say how, or do we change the rules? Do you see the challenge we have here? It's not as easy to just, you know, do a quick fix here. It's extremely difficult, and it also goes hand in hand with the true sandbox nature of this game. A lot of times it's brilliant and we love it. Wow, that was cool, I didn't consider it. Sometimes it's a secret that is annoying for many, but beautiful for those that knows it, right? So it is tricky, and I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain here, because I've been part of some of these meetings, and holy shit, players are creative, both in the good and bad, and you know, we can't just jump the gun then and wreck what they have managed to do in a way that is legal, currently at least. So yeah, we will go through those cases and we will try to handle them. We will try to communicate. We always make sure that it's not cheat and abuses. That is number one, right? If we see that is the case, we always try to act and correct those things. But there's plenty of room, and I've seen many cases myself where it's not cheat, they figure it out, the enemies didn't figure it out, you know, and then eventually they may figure it out. But you know, I don't know exactly what cases you're referring to. There could be cases also that are not fully evaluated by the team, and that, you know, something is wrong. I'm just saying that it is a huge challenge, and a lot of the guys in the team is involved with many of these crazy cases, interesting cases, and sometimes bad cases. Yes, we have said, made a post that there were placement, you know, with the barracks and such. There's a timer for that. We will remove them if those rules are not, you know, followed. So obviously we try to make sure that if something is changed or removed, you know, it needs to be the same for everyone, right? But like I said, yeah, the GMs go through them and they do report and they discuss with the team. I'm not fully aware of all cases, obviously. There may be cases that are problematic that we may have to consider updates or changes when they have figured out the whole picture, because that's one of the things as well. Sometimes it takes time for the GMs and support to evaluate what is the report and is this wrong, is this correct, and take some investigation and some time to go through. Wait, world heat and body heat comes during Unreal 5.5. Please clarify. No, it doesn't. We don't have any world heat active. We do plan to have world heats activated on certain zones in the extreme new areas, such as new continents, where it goes from very hot to very cold. There may be some spectrum there where heat is a thing and affects your gear, your clade, and so on. So you have to adapt your playstyles in those areas to have the proper gear to be effective, right? So while in some locations the meta gear is this, another location there's a different type of meta on your gear and armor and such, because you're going to be more effective. And that can give some interesting different types of combat, because you're never going to have the exact same meta as you have on Milan, you know? I'm asking for fairness because there's a clear bias the staff have against certain guilds and players. If they can have stuff on spies, then why you remove build zones for us? So again, I just want to make it ultra clear that our staff and GMs and devs, they are never biased in terms of, oh, this guild here, I like them, I keep track of them, so I'm gonna go that extra mile for them. I'm gonna help them a little bit extra. First of all, you have to ask yourself, why would any hired external staff member even do that when they're not allowed to play the game? They have no player involvement, they don't know any players, they don't know any guilds. What would be the reason for a GM to do that anyway and risk his job in this company? Doesn't make sense, right? I can see where players think, well, it looks like they're corrupt, they help that side but not us, they're probably friends. I can see that happen when you only see things from your own perspective. I didn't get a response back, or this seems to happen, and I hear that rumor for that player. We can fully see that it's easy to get that conclusion. And then you have a friend that are cursing, yeah, it's like that, and you believe him, and then you're spreading the same thing, right? It's extremely frustrating for us to understand why it happens, but it's also very frustrating for us to know that it's no way in hell happening in the terms of how some players think. Because again, our GMs are external, professional staff members hired to only do certain things, and they're logged on everything. They're not allowed to play the game, they have no relationship with the players, and there's nothing to benefit from doing so. What I said before, there are things that we are lacking in when it comes to make it more effective and have quick responses in terms of having quick access to logs, being able to leave messages and follow up on things so you get a response, you don't feel ignored. Those are the things that I know contribute to that kind of experience as a player. When something bad happens and I think they got that and we didn't get it, or there's been a mistake and I didn't hear anything, I can understand someone drawing the conclusion that, well, they're probably a little bit biased, right? I can fully understand that. But it's my life mission to protect the integrity of this project, and the staff members are 100% hired to do one thing, and if it doesn't work and they don't align with this, they're not continue working at Start because, you know, it's not for them. So obviously we're looking at how can we do this as transparent and as clear as possible. Obviously having better tools to have better communication and follow-ups and responses, be able to leave message will help, right? Because I can understand just being ignored, it feels like I'm ignored, then probably this is or that is what's happening, because that's how I experience it. But like I said, I can assure you that our GMs are never biased to any player in the game. They don't like or hate or have anyone that they, you know, treat differently, because they have a very clear job with job description. That is, you have to be very professional, and this is the guidelines, this is how you follow it, this is how you communicate, and this is how you report your deeds. And then every single GM action is logged in our backend. So we can see everything the GM clicks on is logged. So we can follow up and see what happened here, you know, and go through the cases. If someone is reporting, well, this GM did a corrupt thing, this happened. When that report reaches us, the lead GMs goes through the logs and go through talking that case with that GM to see what happened. And, you know, if that makes sense and, you know, the player is mistaken or didn't have the information, then that solves it, right? But like I said, in many cases, the GMs can't just send a message. So when you log in the next time, bam, there you got the information or the response. We don't have the support for that. But also the system we're building with the chat system to help with those things. There's been certain player logs that are not updated to the GM system because of a backend system again, that we have been suffering. The GM have been suffering to help with support in a quick amount of time. Some players have come back that says, yeah, you know, we're asking for something months ago and they don't have access to that logs anymore. That's a problem, obviously. We can't, you know, also we can't save infinitely X amount back because, you know, it requires insane new systems and data storage. There's insane amount of logs and data that we save every single second. So obviously we can't just have all data in the world infinitely, right? But like I said, we know where we suffer. We have worked a lot on identifying how can we improve the support experience, the player experience when they engage, and how we can help them. And that's also part of our upcoming sprints. Like I said, one of the things are we improving the chat system to be able to more effectively respond and leave messages to players. That's a huge thing, actually. But yeah, obviously I shouldn't go too deep into GM supporting. That's not really my topic. But I just want to make clear that our GMs are never biased. There's no reason for it. Like I said, just ask yourself if it's an externally hired support agent that follow our structure and everything is logged on their actions, and they want to keep their job, then obviously there's no room for being biased because that breaks our internal rules. Obviously, if someone thinks that is the case, we evaluate and look into that, because me and the team are dedicated to have a professional staff team, and we will never be biased or, you know, do wrong thing. And if that happens, we will deal with it. Holy shit, the time is flying. Let me proceed here before it gets too late. It's always easy to get into various topics. Let's see, we have a little giveaway. Shall we start the giveaway, perhaps? Let's start it. ! MO2, shall we? You can see 360 spin tricks during fights as a feature. So we have that discussion many times, right? We all know it. We all know its pros and cons. Some people like it, some people hate it. And we also know that our current system and combat system is quite restricted in terms of what kind of player skills can you utilize, right? And if you're just standing absolutely still, striking, good players will never be able to kill each other, right? So obviously one of their tactics using skills, player skills, is to hide your attacks, doing feints, and do all kind of crazy moves to try to get a cut through your parries, right? And obviously players adapt and find the most effective ways and learn those systems. Some people get really good at them, some people don't, some people hate them, some people like them. But there currently are not enough options, viable options, to counter for that, right? Our goal is that with the new adrenaline system and combat abilities, you will have more fluidity and control on feints. That's something I'm experimenting with and hope will work. That will mean that you don't have to spin as much to do effective feints. That's one of my goals I want to test. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I have hopes at least. The other thing is new moves and abilities that you can combo in certain ways. So it's, have much more tools and variations rather than only spin around. And my goal is that this combination will be deadly enough with high skills that it allows for us to penalize spinning more. So we are minimizing the spinning. Those that really like spinning and can do one spin or so maybe can do it, but it will be more limited and maybe cost more stamina. So it's not going to be the main crazy spin meta. They will have to adapt also a little bit and embrace the new abilities and master those. So my goal is that there will be a natural transition that just spinning is not the meta anymore. If you do that, you're old school. Maybe, even gonna get whooped because you get a special combat in your ass when you're spinning. Bam, dead. You're gonna maybe stop spinning, But it's too early to say yet. Obviously, us devs also play it, at one specific stage, while you veterans that are hardcore duelists, PvP players that do that way more than us, obviously you will experience things and find new ways with our updates that we may not consider. That's why I want to extend the PTR with this combat system, just give you the tools to see, okay, this one is OP, this one is never going to be used, it's crap. And the fluidity, maybe we want more fluidity or less limitation on some of that to make even more effective feints within the ping normalization, so you don't just bypass every single parry, right? But I think there'll be room for testing all this. And my hope and goal is that the new combat will be more engaging, interesting, using proper feints and the new abilities, and that will reduce or even remove the 360 spins. That's the goal at least. So we will see more when we get on that first stage, getting to play around with this. Catastrophic, but yeah, that's what we're looking at. When we implement these new tools to be able to keep damage and such, because we all know it, right? If we just remove spinning today, duels is over, right? You will never be able to duel. People are dueling every single day, non-stop, and they enjoy it, more or less. Some love it, some don't like it as much. And some people are just here for the big battles, group battles, because that's where it shines more. You don't spin as much in a big battle because you're just making yourself an unfavor, especially in big battles when it's chaos everywhere, right? And every, overreach or whatever mistake, bam, you're dead instantly. You don't spin then. So it's mostly in duels, right? Because you can't end a fight. If you're on a competitive level, you can't end a fight if you don't spin. So that's why it doesn't make sense just to remove it now. It makes sense to hopefully restrict it, add penalize on it, when you have plenty of tools and options to actually win a fight and not just rely on spinning. Does that make any sense? Spinning is the entire skill aspect of the game, it needs to be protected. So currently that is the only way, right, to win a duel, like I said. The more players in a big group fight, the less you're gonna spin, because there's no reason to spin when there's so many in a battle. But yes, one-on-one, you absolutely need to do spins and disguises to win. But my hope is that when we're adding these new mechanics and moves, and we're gonna experiment with some of the feints to be very effective, it may replace spinning. And abilities actual like cleaves, whirlwinds, etc., or are they or dark and darker abilities on hit? So one of the things is that obviously we all learn that Immortal Line based the combat system is that you're fully in control of all your steps and all of your single moves, right? All your strikes, and people like that. You know, we are very high rated as a PvP combat system, full traces, full control of everything. Obviously the opposite of World of Warcraft, when you just needs to be in range and within grades and bam, you click a button and then some rainbows and you take damage or not. Quite a different game, and obviously we have collision, right? So we aim to still allow it to have full control on all your abilities, but it's also like if you commit, imagine if you hold a huge hammer in real life and you do a very big swing, you commit to that, you can't just stop that in 1 millisecond and move around. There's a weight and commitment to your entire body, right? So it does make sense to try to use our motion capture system to do really awesome, believable strikes. That makes sense, they look awesome, and it's some kind of a commitment, right? It's almost like in real life. If you commit to a very strong, powerful strike, you can't just in one tap second, you know, move back and change that, right? It's math and physics, right? So what we are trying to do is that we're going to look at how much of a control you still have. You know, when you do swing in real life, obviously you can always react and start moving in a different direction. You have some kind of control, right? Even with a full commitment. So that's what we're looking at, right? And we want to be able to combo these fluidly with your normal swings and feints. So you can do a feint swing and move that swing into a new ability that does some more commitment, but that commitment can also be a quick step and a longer reach. So you can be very deadly with this new ability attack, which you couldn't reach without that ability. So it's a commitment, and you also obviously take that step, so it's a small risk. You know, you may be overstepping your boundaries towards enemies, but I think that is the trade-off, right? To give skills and where you decide to commit to that special moves. And obviously we will have everything from small, quick abilities to more bigger commitments, more cost of adrenaline, and it can be very devastating when used correctly, but can also be, you know, risky in some situation because it's a big commitment, right? So obviously there's a lot to this system, and things gonna make more sense when I have the stream, when we go through adrenaline and some of those abilities. I'm gonna showcase them live. And of course, tons of testing. We want all of your feedback on all of those moves. We want you to rate them and see which one are powerful, useful, and not useful, because obviously we want them to all be useful and balanced. And currently I've designed 3 main abilities per weapon group. One is, you know, little stamina drain cost, a little bit more quick, fancy move, and then we have one in the middle, and then we have a third is bigger commitment, more stronger commitment. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting, and of course a lot of balancing, and that's where we really want your help, because obviously you PvP hardcore players that have been fighting for non-stop for a long time now will have valuable input on, okay, this ability is very powerful, this one is never going to be used. We're going to hopefully get good data on that, so we can tweak them based on that to make sure all of them are useful and interesting. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna jump deep into those systems in dedicated streams quite soon. Game feels much better when you can hide your attacks. I don't want to sit there and spend 20 minutes just parrying each other's. Everyone would just use heavy hammers and just do chip damage. Yeah, I mean, we know that everyone in here, there's two camps, right? Some people love spinning, require spinning, and some can't stand it, think it's silly, don't want to learn it, you know, and we don't say anyone is right or wrong. Obviously, we want the combat to feel and look great, player skills, and be somewhat believable. And plenty of options to go different styles and be successful doing so. And now we have not too many options, but the goal is obviously with this reckoning patch to give plenty of options. So hopefully we see new styles, new tactics. Seeing as most MMO players don't want to play full loot PvP, why not open PvE server to increase your revenue and hire more staff? You did this and it was very successful. It was both successful and not so successful actually. And the thing is, there was a huge audience that kind of left and wanted a full PvP, full loot game because there's nothing else on the market. We're quite unique with this type of game. We fully understand why there are maybe many interested players that really don't want to jump into it because of full loot, full PvP. But we are not, you know, we are committed to instead give plenty of options, huge world, keep expanding it, where you will find your areas, you can set up your own protection and minimize PvP and murderers, and you can enjoy your, you know, experience there more. So yeah, we don't plan, at least now, to do a PvE server. Because yeah, we don't see the reason for it now, and you know, we're not forced to do that. We have support, we have good enough support currently to run our vision and follow that vision as a full loot PvP game. As long as we have that support and we can move in the direction we want to, and you know, people share our vision with the game, we're happy to continue that road, right? Obviously, if everyone quits, the market have changed. We don't want that type of game anymore. You know, if we want to continue building games, we are maybe forced to adapt, right? But you know, luckily we are not in a forced position at this time. Obviously, we know that PvE is a big aspect of the game, and even PvP players enjoy exploring different areas of the game every now and then, you know, take some break from combat. And also, you can't just expect always to have perfect PvP combat, because that's not realistic in a sandbox game like this. You know, there will be circumstances and cases where there are epic PvP encounters, even balanced at time, and people enjoy it. I've got a lot of DMs the latest weeks saying we had so much fun. We had an epic relic fight. It was just spectacular. We fought for 2-3 hours. And then some sieges have been similar. Some sieges have been not as exciting. The plan is to make the TC Overhaul exciting every time to fight over the regions rather than keep sieges, because they're not going to be quick things, you know. So obviously with our PvE and AI improvement that we also plan to do in Reckoning, we hope that, you know, we're going to widen the PvE experience for both PvP players and non-PvP players to enjoy more of that, because that's also a backbone thing in these types of game, to be able to enjoy the game even without a conflict or having a super battle going on non-stop. So with 3 months wipes, so we're not a seasonal game, you know. There's plenty of season games for good reasons, and they are designed to be these season games. But the beauty of Modeline is it's persistent, and it will keep expanding and evolving, and you're gonna love having your assets and expand those assets. You're gonna start hating the game and get bored after you've lost all those commitments a few times, and then you're never looking back. It's not that type of game. It's a persistent MMO. People are coming back after a few years or even months, you know, multiple years, to revisit things, or, oh shit, you released this now, I was looking forward to that, I almost forgot about Modeline, and I'm back and I'm loving it. Obviously, they shouldn't be stripped to 0 again and have to restart. I mean, many games or the thing is, many games that don't have long-term commitment are not MMOs. They know that they're losing players if they don't keep doing insane expansions, but they also found one effective way, and that is seasons. A lot of people enjoy starting fresh with seasons in those type of game where starting over can be fun because it's one of the main thing you do in a game. After that, there's no end game. But our game is obviously a true sandbox where everything becomes end game. So it doesn't fit our game, right? But I can see why obviously many games fits and transition to season games because they die out if they don't do those kind of expansions. But yeah, Mortal 9 is a MMORPG, so it doesn't make sense to make it season because you're paying money to build your wealth, your characters, your skills, your discoveries, your secret recipes. That has a value, and that value also comes from you investing time in a game. So obviously we rip that time off you and those items off you. You have not got your value in return for your subscriptions, right? Would new content be for new players or only for veterans players for the endgame content? It will be for new players and veterans because, as I said before, we have a few thousands North American players, especially on the West Coast, that refuse to play this game. They want to play it, but they say the day that comes when there's a North American server, we're going to start playing the game and we're going to take over the game. We're going to become stronger than you guys. Their words, not mine. They're obviously going to start new and they obviously need to learn a game. They're going to be noobs. They're going to die. So if that whole content was only for veterans and hardcore, it clashes, right? They can't start the game because then they're forced to Mioland and they will not play there because the only reason they want to play the game is if we give a North American server. So we expect a new audience to join the game along with North American server. So it makes sense that obviously it also holds new player experience. One US server has 6x player base of MO. I don't think so, Divine. How many players are we talking about? Because like I said, I get a little bit tired about people have no clue how many players we have, but understandable, we don't post them, so we're gonna do it soon enough. But I don't think you will have a game server that has 6x our player base. Last time I looked on the most popular US server, we had the same amount. But I can be wrong if there's another server or something happened in that US server. I played UO for many, many years. I know that game very well. Killboard, all of that is possible. Now with the new backend, we can pull any data, really cool data that I'm interested in pulling. We can show Clade numbers and so on our website. Outlands literally has 3K people on the server. Yeah, we have way more than that active server Divine. So yeah, as I expected, Outlands, we have more players than Outlands. Simultaneously is a different thing. Again, active players and simultaneously is two different things. So it depends on what you're comparing. But yeah, we are peaking 2K players, almost 2K players simultaneously online, 1,700. But obviously we have way more active players that play every day or every second day or third day. We have an average on a week to see if it's an active player or not. Obviously, if we had 3K players active only, we wouldn't be able to pay the bills. I will pull the plug if we reached 3K players because then we don't have support. We don't have enough interested players to pay for this game. And if we would be that low, I would have changed direction or have to do something else. Yeah, you can see our financial reports, obviously that's where we get the fundings from, subs, games. And we went up quite a lot in this quarter year, everything being positive numbers, so it's exciting. Things are moving in the right direction and we are not even started yet. The biggest expansion to come and the great stuff we have here in the pipeline and some other announcement we're going to do later on that is a little bit in the shadows or secret. Very exciting year, the team is very excited. So this is the golden age, I would say, for Star Vault, and I'm very much looking forward to taking the steps this year. But yeah, absolutely. For being that old, UO is quite impressive to have 3K active players, but that wouldn't sustain our development. And yeah, that's why there are 5 people private handling it, because they don't need more money, you know, or they have already jobs. But this is our full-time job, obviously, so we need to make sure that we can cover expenses. And yeah, we are 30 people, around 30 people. We consider making Haven free to play? Yes, we have, and we do plan to do that eventually. When things are timed right and we have met the goals that we have set up in a certain areas, we're eventually gonna make Haven free to play. And we know that will be a very strong pull to get hesitated players or random players get to try the game in a much larger volume. And obviously that will help us to tap in to find more new players. We will announce when the North American server will be finished, when we close. So it's a little bit too early to set a date, because again, we don't want to make people upset if we can't follow that date. But when we get closer, we will have a, you know, an estimate at least. Yes, we read feedback on Discord and the forums, and we're gonna rely also utilizing our in-game service a lot more now to tap into various different things. Hypno, very nice guy, cool shit. Thanks for stepping by. Why don't you make the new content free to play? No, it's our way to tap into the North American market. Like I said, there are a lot of West Coast players that don't want to play until there's a North American server. So it wouldn't make sense to make that free to play. I think it makes sense to make Haven free to play because it's going to be restricted. We're going to give them a little bit more things to do there. They can maybe even fully do all the Clade Experience 20, open up mastery system, but not, you know, expand more on that. We may want to refine, update Haven a little bit to give them a wider experience before they may commit to the real continents. Code making Euro though in 2D is about 10 times easier than a 3D MMO. There's so many things. I went in the early days. Sebastian almost hated me because I said I used UO as a reference, right? I mean, sure, that, you know, they did that in UO and they did it like this and I played it like that. And he just looked at me and said, "Are you crazy, Henrik? Are you comparing the 2D planes and grid system where you can see a limited space in UO with an open world, infinite range, 3D collision?" Not even comparable at the slightest. So it is much more complex, so many more factors to make a 3D MMO like our first person also than top-down grid UO system. So we did, you know, move on to the absolute most challenging game settings ever, which been a huge challenge. But I wouldn't go back. We enjoyed the journey, and this is gonna be the golden year, and we're very excited for the upcoming stuff. So West Coast player, it's hard to enjoy MO2 properly. Very excited for the servers. Yeah, Heretic, you're not alone. Like I said, we have a couple of thousands of players that are, some of them have tried it, some of them refuse, and they say, you know, if you add a North American server, we're gonna play the game, but not until then. Because they are out of that reach where too many jumps, too many routing jumps, ping normalization isn't optimal when you're in that range. And yeah, we can understand, commit to a subscription MMO with those limitations. We can understand that's tough, right? I don't think that you have better mechanic or, you know, more advanced. I mean, we have obviously way more advanced technology than you. Like I said, it's extremely primitive to have a 3D grid, 2D based top-down, extremely much simplified. There's so many things, a challenge you can throw out the window because of the grid-based top-down view. I mean, we are miles ahead tech-wise and challenge-wise. It's not comparable. It's comparing a car with a fruit. The only thing they have in common is, you know, many players online, combat, not even combat is comparable, but, you know, MMO, that's what they have in common. And many of the core rules that we very much enjoyed from UO, those are obviously in common. But tech-wise, completely different. So many more challenges. And yeah, how old is UO now? 96. It was back in 1996. I was participating in their beta. I think they released 97. Am I correct? So obviously they have quite a few years before we start our journey back in 2000 something. We've been running for 20 years and they've been running for what, 40 years, 35 years. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, obviously you can build a lot more content, and they were quite a huge successful company, hundreds of employees. No wonder they had more content than us, right? But we will get there. We will get there. We actually have quite a few more content than many mainstream MMOs, which is quite impressive, being a small team like us. But yeah, it was the golden game for me from being a child back in the days. I played it for 10 years, so I was quite hardcore UO player for many years, on and off. Enjoyed it very much, and obviously that's why you recognize a lot of the core rules in Mortal Online. We haven't decided location on the server. We will update on that more later. But like I said before, it doesn't matter where it's located in North America if you are living in North America, because you will be within the ping normalization. Outlands launched in 2018 or something. Yeah, but you know it's an emulation of Ultima Online, right? I did one of myself actually before Mortal Online. So you get a lot from the original system files. You don't start from nothing. All the emulation today comes from obviously the OC original Ultima Online. And then you did your own systems, and you can obviously add whatever you want pretty much. I was participating in one emulation server a few years after Ultima Online wasn't the game that we wanted anymore. And then I eventually moved on to my own project, Mortal Online, because I thought it could be cool with a new, fresh first-person experience. Obviously a lot of different things, but also share some of those core rules that UO had. So I know exactly how it is to run my own server. I did it myself. Not super popular, but we got a few hundred players at peak playing the golden era of Ultima Online on our own servers. It was fun. Got some experience on that as well, but obviously very, very different, more a hobby project than what we're doing today. Yeah, Chesapeake was my server over in America. So I played on America server because they didn't release with a European server. And that was, holy shit, 28.8 modems playing on Chesapeake release. Holy shit. That was an experience. And we'll be doing more streams for the new few weeks, highlighting the new content. Yes, we will do regular updates when we reveal some of these systems. We're going to go in depth, stream live, showcase some of these systems so you can get feedback on it and, you know, learn more how they work. And then eventually we're going to start the PTR when we're going to do a lot of testing. So no time frame for North American server. Yeah, a little bit too early still. There's a lot of work being done, and we're going to show a lot of it soon when we reveal it. And then as we go closer, we can probably make an estimation what we're looking at. But these two are very large expansion. Like I said, it's the biggest things since release, both Reckoning and the new continent, obviously. But it's going down this year, obviously. They took from UO. You took from the US at the store. I mean, we have had a discussion many times. We took trees and stones from the asset store, yes, and a few buildings. We saved maybe a few days on something that we didn't want to remodel because it didn't make sense. But everything else, like 99.8%, we have built from scratch. I'm not saying that they took from you. I'm just saying that your emulation server is not building your own MMO and your own tech. It's actually the Uzi game, Ultima Line, that they are building from. It's like if someone else is building from Ultima Line and doing their own private server. There's a gray zone also was illegal there, but you know the difference. It's not really comparable. It started with tons of modders doing emulation servers on UO. Like I said, I was part of a team myself, and because I wanted to play some specific golden era on those servers when those originals changed. But that's not anything like professional work on a whole new tech, build it from scratch and make your own game and your own network solution. The biggest project in Mortal 9 is not the game itself, it's the network solution. We spent 20 years trying to perfect those systems to work with anything in a true sandbox game. And today I will boldly claim that there is no other network solution, modern network solution, that supports so many open dynamic things. We have no limitations. You know, looking at World of Warcraft network solution, it does what it does really good, but it doesn't support anything sandboxy. Nothing. They have to build a whole new, tons of new systems. Star Citizen is probably one of those that are, trying to do something more like us, a true sandbox network solution with thousands of players. And we are way ahead of Star Citizen, obviously 20 years, but we are also a fraction of them. So I'm sure they're going to surpass us anytime soon with mesh merging, server mesh serving, like we have been doing for a few years. They aim to do it, and I'm sure they will do it because they have endless resources, right? I would only need to be at the level of Lost Ark. Do you like Lost Ark? Did I play Lost Ark? I have to refresh my memory. Yes, the Asian MMO kinda. I didn't like Lost Ark at all. I was a little bit hyped because I thought it would be like Path of Exile, a slasher. I enjoyed Path of Exile, Diablo. I thought it would be more like that because that's how I was sold to it. When I played it, felt like all over WoW again, doing those quests that I don't enjoy doing. So I was disappointed of Lost Ark. No, we're gonna have our dates on Reckoning soon enough. There's a few sensitive things that we need to surpass before we dare to have some kind of announcement. So until then, you have to wait a little bit more. Holy shit, yeah, my stream timer. Thank you, Lucky Saint. Lost Ark sucks. I didn't like it at all. Obviously we are all different tastes, but I was hoping it would be more like a slasher, Diablo, large scale. But no, it went just back to WoW kind of main rules. I didn't like it. Alright. If Stars Tech was affordable, will you consider buying their server meshing product Mortal 9? No, but I would consider licensing our tech to them because they will save a few years because they're trying to build what we have built and ours is working and we have impressive numbers. Their tests have not been very successful in large scale, even though it kind of work. I don't know if they have done. Obviously, they're gonna do fix those things eventually, but they would probably save a few years by getting our tech and perfect our tech because they have insane resources. There's no reason at all for us to buy their tech and trying to implement that in in our game, because it would be a complete mess. And most of our things that are very specific wouldn't even work. No. Are there even collision in Star Citizen? Can you go through a player in Star Citizen? I don't remember. There's been a few interested large companies in our tech, because the game industry knows the tech we have built is quite insane for being such a small team. Epic, we're talking to Epic. There's an interesting thing in there, because Unreal Engine 5 have everything to a very high degree, but they're lacking one thing, and that is large-scale network support. So that's interesting. And, you know, we will see what the future holds there. We are discussing with several companies. They know that they can save many years by utilizing some of our tech and build any sandbox game they would like to. Just imagine having a huge team just go straight into gameplay coding and don't have to worry about the main network core and just perfect the network for their gameplay. That's very attractive, because, like I said, 80% of our project is network coding with our game, and we have built it to be very open, supportive of any future project, any game, any IP. And there's not much on the market similar to this. No, Divine, that is not correct. Very, very funny things, but absolutely not. We built our own tech for I don't know how many years, since day one. We didn't have any solution initially. And then we were at Epic Games in North Carolina the first year, working with them, trying to build something. And they had a small studio in China that was trying to do network solution, a copy of World of Warcraft type of MMO solution that we looked into. But obviously, that is not the type of game we need. So everything have to change, and we have to build everything very different to support a real-time MMO first person like us. Nothing like World of Warcraft top-down MMO type of main setting. But yeah, that's why it's taken 20 years. If we could skip the network parts, obviously it would be a very different game, but then it will be done in no seconds at all. Shall we pull the lottery? I have think I waited a little bit too long now. Let's roll it. Good luck, everyone. Let me all right. Good luck. Let's see who wins a key. Let's go. And the winner, DZ Zos Zai. Congratulations. You are the winner if you are here. DZ. Let's see if he's here. Are you here? DZ Zai? Let's give him a few minutes. If he's not responding, we will roll instantly again. DZ, have anyone seen him? Doesn't look like he's here, right? I think he's timed out. Is he coming back or is he just gone? Oh, he's writing there, right? DZ is... Oh. Yo, can you respond to the DM and I will send you the key. Yep, I got it. Check your DM, see if you can send to me DZ. Did you say when the performance optimization coming out and where did you measure performance? Because one player survey, it is easy to measure performance. No, I shared a more detailed information from different hardware spec. Obviously, one player doesn't give us any stats on what characters cost, right? So we had to use 200 to 250 characters on screen and measure the data. So we optimized two areas. Back cost, world optimization, cities, dungeon areas. So when you move around, we got anything from 17 to 55% performance gains just in the background cost. So obviously that helps, right? And then we did test on 250 around those numbers of players on screen. And I shared the stats. I can share them again if you want to see the different hardware, to see what kind of gains you can expect on those similar hardwares. No, it's not bots. Obviously, we are generating player models, so they tick with the same collision, same gear, everything. So we actually spent a few months on doing a specific measurement system that one of our guys have been building on for a few months. And then we finalized that system pretty much this week. What that does is it reduces the cost per character on the CPU calculations by a lot. So that helps rendering more characters on the screen. Obviously, large battles is where you experience that, right? So that is going live in Sprint 10, which is the next patch. So obviously we're eager to hear your response. So, you can take a look now on live on specific areas, take note on FPS. You know average whether you're suffering in a big battle. Obviously, it's hard to call out in a big siege how many players we have there. We only know that a huge amount of players cost quite a lot. And we've done good work on character cost and the background cost in the world. And it should be noticeable for everyone, including old hardware. It scales, obviously, with new hardware very effectively. But you should absolutely notice FPS everywhere in the world improved. All right, thank you, DZ. Let me... I'm going to send you the... going to send you the code right here. Oop. There. That's a Steam key. DZ, congratulations for being our winner today. Joe's Eye. All right. Awesome. Thank you, Stanky Chan. Joe's Eye. All right. The guild event on PTR to test it and encourage people to beat. Yeah, we've done some of those events where people gather up, and obviously a little bit easier. We don't have any risk or conflicts at play. We can measure some numbers in a more calm environment. So absolutely, we're probably gonna do something like that. We usually do that, a little small event to gather people, have some fun, fighting a little bit, and we obviously measure some data and performance at the same time. So when a patch comes and FPS is still like 20 or something, that what have we gone? So if you already have around 20 FPS, your hardware is very old, and a game like Mortal 9 will never, magically give you 100 FPS. It's just simply not possible. FPS, Unreal Engine 5 is a next generation engine. It's world leading, and they utilize more and more to do groundbreaking stuff. They utilize new tech, right? So if you're running around with 20 FPS, I can already say that, sure, even though you get 30% boost, that is only what, 25 FPS. So not a big difference, right? So yeah, I can already tell you that if you have 20 FPS, your computer is too old to do large scale battles. And we're talking about many years old hardware. We can't obviously do magic for 10 years old hardware and expect it to run with 100 FPS. Like I said, I shared numbers, everything from 17 to 55 percentage FPS gains in the world, and we had 30 to 70% on 250 characters on the screen. That's a good improvement, but like I said, if you're starting out with 10-15 FPS, don't expect a miracle and reach 60, right? That's going to be very difficult. If you are at 35, obviously you're gonna see a notice difference. But if you're running around at a baseline at 30 FPS, again, you can't expect insane magical solutions that will triple those numbers without obviously frame generation, DLSS, and those kind of tricks with input lag. So yeah. People need to understand at some point you need to upgrade the hardware. You don't get to buy once and think the world halts with you. I mean, we fully understand. Obviously, we want to support and be able to scale and have older generation of hardware to run the game decently, but we need to be realistic as well. Even though we do a huge improvement now, it's impressive. This is probably our best client performance update we're doing. But like I said, it's a very beautiful game world, very complex, and a few hundred of players with that detailed data. It comes at a cost. There are more things we can do to squeeze out even more FPS, which we plan to do. But like I said, we can't expect to go from 20 to 100. I don't think that's realistic. But there's a few things that our technical coders have listed as these are big costs, and here are proposed solutions how we can make them more optimized. We have done one of the biggest right now, which is mesh merging all our parts, which does a lot for the CPU, and we are CPU bound, so it's a noticeable fix for everyone. And then there's a few other on that list that are almost similar costs. So obviously when we cover those, we will get additional few FPS with many players on the screen. But yeah, this one should absolutely be noticeable for everyone. And we're looking forward to see those numbers on PTR if you can compare before and after, even though that's a little bit tricky to get the exact same scene and scenario, right? The CPU usage in MO2 is not as good as it has to be. So we are heavily CPU bound on live. We are not as heavily CPU bound on this next patch. That's where a lot of optimization have been done. So it should help quite a bit for the CPU. So that concludes the giveaway. Need some optimization in game, 10k hours, and you need to farm to play. What do you mean? What do you need to farm to play? Depends on what you're doing, right? These are some tests with X3D CPU and 4080-90 GPU. I have a 4090, but I do have a 13900K CPU. It's not the latest generation, but still solid. And obviously 4090 is a really good card, second best on the market. So I can probably get some numbers as well. I haven't had the time to do some comparison myself, but I could share some numbers. But obviously that's not the same CPU. Since we are CPU bound, obviously, depending on what CPU you're using, does a difference. Hello. My mic went off the thing, you know, the thing. Jesus Christ. Maybe that's my cue. Do you still hear me even? Is my son working? Pang Tank Way. So with the updated territory control, regions will have some different bonuses that you may participate in taking if you hold that land. So that will engage interesting sieging, and obviously may give some bonuses for controlling those areas. So that taps a little bit into, I guess, what you're talking about. Major Utopia, I'm not sure about that one. I have to check with the devs. I'm not up to date when it comes to 50-meter distance check. I'm not sure about UK AQ yet when it comes to dismounting. I hear both don't touch it from a huge amount of players to touch it from a huge amount of players. And you know, if we have something 50-50 and there's no good solution, I don't want to stress those things. You know, we are fully focused on the most sensitive things for a game ever, combat. And if we at the same time have to do extremely sensitive balance that no one agrees on, is it wise to do it now? I'm not sure. But if we have different data that suggests that we have some safe changes, then maybe it fits one of our sprints. Mayo Utopia, I have to pass that on to our guys, so they have to check. I'm not fully aware exactly if that's something we are missed, but we'll look into it. Can we nerf mages in water? Not sure when Rapier is making its entrance. We are working on new weapons and new stuff. Obviously, along with the new content, you're gonna see a lot of new stuff, right? We'll see where it fits. When I'm gonna buff some of the user spells in the magic schools, I'm sure there are many spells that are not heavily used, but we work quite closely with some hardcore mages that loves nothing but play mages. They give great feedback, all of them, and some of the best mages that does only play them, you know, say that, you know, you managed to do quite well, especially with elementalism. There are so many spells that seems not useful and many don't use them. But the deeper I go, I can see there are specific use and situational use for many of them, almost all of them, more or less. But it's not, you know, many of them are not the one that you use on a battlefield or in a siege or such, because they are not as optimal. But we got a lot of feedback that there are many situational ones, which means they will not be used often, but when used in the right circumstance, they have a use. And we just got that feedback, you know, you managed to do that quite well, and obviously that's the only thing we were hoping for. But I'm sure there are some spells that could probably be used even more if we got another round on them, because there's quite a lot of magic spells in that school. It was quite crazy, right? So again, I'm not the Elementalist expert, but if you talk to some of those quite well-known veterans that do play, enjoyed, and made videos about Elementalism, they had quite a lot of good feedback that, you know, many of them are useful in specific circumstances, even though it's not the most common spells. And there are some that, yeah, you know, not much use. But more than, I guess, mainstream mages or what you experience is seeing at first hand. I'm just passing some of that information that I got quite a good research feedback, written essay on Elementalism. Just sharing some of that. So, but I'm sure you're correct. There are spells that are rarely used, and we could probably tweak those to be a little bit more used, right? But again, we have so many areas. We want to make sure that these 2 patches and our expansion is successful, stable, because you all love the content in Reckoning expansion. There's something for everyone, from invasion, PvE, loot, crazy loot stuff and stuff to explore, to new combat abilities, adrenaline system, to territory control. There's something for everyone. Everyone have really cool stuff to enjoy and explore with our expansion that we're gonna release. There is some that are not as fun. I miss Old Water Ward and Stonewall. Yeah, you know, some of them were a little bit abused, so we had to nerf some of those duration and such that made them less fun, less useful, I guess. Maybe we can find a middle ground. So I'm sure there's some room for some of that. Right, guys, I'm hitting the 3-hour mark. I'm quite lousy at keeping my streams on point and effective, but it's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys. My mic setup broke, so I have to set that up again for my next stream. So shall we do a little raid? We're gonna announce my next stream, what topic we're gonna dive into. Keep your eye out on our webpage, because we're gonna put some stuff there. We're gonna show you some cool stuff that's in the making, and we're gonna announce a few things that we haven't fully announced yet, right? I mean, the invasion, that's all you know. What kind of invasion? What's going on? There's a lot of cool stuff there. Very excited to share those things that we've been working on. And of course, all your questions regarding the TC overhaul and combat and adrenaline in depth. I'm going to showcase all that live in a stream. I'm using this motion capture. I'm personally myself is actually doing some motion capture for our upcoming patches. All right. Namaste. What am I not acknowledging? I try to cover everything once, but sometimes I miss things. Haven't been to a stream in 7+ months. Feels bad, man. What have I missed? Namaste, Feline. Appreciate the stream, Henrik. Have a good day, bro. Thank you very much. Thanks for stepping by. And I can assure you, my upcoming streams is going to be a little bit more exciting. Going to deep dive into those juicy contents. But I just wanted to stream today to give the update before we update the roadmap, so you're not get confused or wonder what the hell is going on. Why are we changing things without any info regarding the roadmap? But it makes sense. The changes make sense. Yep, the nudity. I want it back because, you know, why not? And a lot of people want it. But again, we have to see where we can cover that. I missed old 7-hour streams. That was the good old time. I did nothing but work, stream, sleep, eat. So, you know, I have to keep my health in check also, right? So I can be here in the long run and make sure we bring Morta to the golden age finally this year, because that's exactly what we do. Those old 7-hour stream were good. Like, I like the late night talks with Henrik. I mean, we had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, but you know, first 16 hours or so work and then 7-hour stream on top of that. There's not enough hours on a day, right, to make that happen. Thank you, Lapcat. Sure, I agree. See your point. All right, let's take a quick look here. Simple stream at work. Well, that's gonna be boring. I have so many meetings and all kind of stuff that streaming that would just not be very fun, right? Let's see, who do we got streaming today? Let's do a little quick poll, shall we? All right. Quick vote, quick vote. All right, let's have a quick vote and then we ride. And I'm gonna take some night stack before it's getting late here in Sweden. Let's see. Who do we raid today? Who do we raid? Thanks, Henrik. Add one more cash slot for small price, please. Check out. Peace out. Peace out. Sound design is awesome. Plus, they got cool design and imagine the door is interesting as fuck. Strong Lisa Warrior, more interesting than Elf or Satyr. You know me. Two more characters. Holy cow, holy cow. Alright. Oh my god, we got a 3 split way between Zero, Sympathy, and Himothy. God damn. I guess we need a rematch between those 3. How is that possible? Come on. Let's do it. One final raid. All votes. Let's go. Let's go. It's very even still. Make it tight so you can't leave, eh? One raid rule them all. How the hell did I manage to fuck up my thing here? God dang. This is not good. Timothy it is. Shit. All right. Never mind that. I broke it hard. Right, who do we got? We got Timothy. All right, let's do this raid, and I have to put my mic together and get some night snack, night snack, and keep an eye out for my next stream and updates. Is gonna be very exciting content moving forward now when we deep dive into the expansion content. All right. Thank you everyone for joining in today. I appreciate it. Thanks for all subscription, donations, and your questions. And yeah, what do we have there? Raid. All right, we got the new thing here, and we got Timothy. Right, let's raid Timothy. And yeah, thank you everyone. Have a good night. See you next time, and take care.